We are red.
All right, welcome to the, let's open January 16th, 2014. Let the record show Selectman Dawson is not present at this time. She's on her way. At this time, I'd like to go into a non-public session. I'll make a motion to enter non-public as per RSA 91A:3 personnel.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Just say no to chocolate. And we're red.
Make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public as they pertain to personnel permanently.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Did you get Sandy's yes as well? Okay. Okay. She's gone down to get,
Do we have a copy of the proposed ordinance?
no, they're going to come up and present that.
Do you have
us.
enough copies, or do you want me to make some?
Yep, and, no, come on up and, I'm assuming that Donna read this on the agenda, and that's why she's here. So,
That's Dickie? She didn't recognize him.
I didn't recognize him either, but he had a hat on when he came
Mr.
in.
Paulus.
Oh, he's flashed those pearly whites.
Sorry. We're in public. Yep. So we can mention this, right?
Sandra?
Out loud.
I have something that could go with it, but I won't talk about.
Maybe Dennis left it open. I'm gonna move up because I can't.
About relative to the subject.
Ask him if he can talk in the microphone.
No, but I meant your morning activities.
Oh, I already heard about that.
Oh, yeah, we could mention that too. Yeah, that's not, no.
I gave you mine for Sandy. Thank you.
He's got one.
You have one, okay.
You want one for Catherine? I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him.
Now I'm on it.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, we are talking tonight
I'll make a copy.
on a
You got it?
proposed ordinance to, and there's been much in the papers, we have another letter in the Echo today, did you get that? About the spice, chill spice, as they call it, that's being sold in, also, we want to talk a little bit about an ordinance on pawn shops, correct? So this is, right now, this is a proposal to you, to us, from you.
And I can give some background to how we got to where we are. with
Yep.
it.
Turn that, Catherine's mic, the black one right here. Yep.
Okay, so just a little bit of background, how it came to our attention was probably about 2 years ago. We would meet with the high school monthly, the first week of the month, and it started when I heard at a staff meeting at the high school that teachers were starting to experience students coming to school high on what they thought was marijuana, but once they questioned the students, they found out it was like a synthetic marijuana, like a spice, they call it, that's the street name or nickname. And so they started having kids with health issues. Some of them had to go see their doctor, actually leave school and go see a doctor. I know Franklin had some problems with it. One of them actually, they kind of met the definition of an overdose on it. And so I called the DEA at the time, and nationally it was becoming an epidemic and a problem in the schools and with teenagers. And the DEA had already started to work on it before I even called them, and they had put in place an emergency ban on any substance that had the chemical makeup or compounds of synthetic marijuana or anything close to it. So this emergency ban gave us the ability to ask the stores to take it off the shelves and stop selling it. And so at the time, I had detectives go down to one of our stores, explain this emergency ban to them, and have them pull it off the shelves. Well, I talked to the DEA. That emergency ban's still in place. The manufacturers of these products, they keep changing the chemical makeup of them, or compounds used in their manufacture to I believe, kind of get around that emergency ban. And so, talking to the DEA office down in Bedford, they said that, it's been a challenge for them in the state lab to kind of keep coming out or get behind the different chemicals and compounds in synthetic marijuana to make sure that they meet this or fall within the criteria of this emergency ban. And so they said their recommendation to us, though, is to still be vigilant about it, try and keep it out of the hands of teenagers, and to do anything we can to get our stores to cooperate and not sell it. And so I talked to them about a potential ordinance. I met with Detective Buffington a few weeks ago, and I said, could you kind of look around the state, see what's out there for ordinances, and see what other communities are doing to try and curb the sale of synthetic marijuana or spices, it's known on the street, to teens. And so he called around, talked to detectives in different cities, and then I'll turn it over to you, Nate. You actually eventually contacted Keene.
I did. What I did is, as opposed to calling all the agencies, I called to the state lab to find out, because it changes so much that really you can't even test some of the stuff, because by the time we send it down to be tested, the compounds have all changed, and they actually have to send it off to somebody else to be tested. So I spoke with Linda at the state lab. She said that to date, they've worked with the Attorney General's office in the city of Keene for really one of the most up-to-date ordinances that they have. So, because what I wanted the most up-to-date and the best that we could get. There are other ordinances out there, but they're not all-inclusive. So from what I understand, that they know of, Keene is probably the most all-inclusive ordinance that they have. I also called and talked to Keene. I talked to Tom Mullins, he's the city attorney, because I wanted to know, what was the purpose of it? Was it to stop kids carrying it on the street? Was it to stop your stores from selling it? He said the purpose was ultimately to have the stores pull it off the shelves. He said, of course, included in it is possession. If it wanted to be used against kids, it could be, if it needed to be. But the ultimate intent was to have this stuff removed from sale, because we know what it's being used for. He said, to date, nobody has challenged it. They have, in talking with Keene PD yesterday, they said that they've only issued one citation for this, one town ordinance or city ordinance for this so far. And that's all they have with it. They said as soon as they brought it down, so to date, all the stores have pulled it off their shelves, which ultimately is what we're looking for. I know when I did go down and talk to Free Hill on Main Street, Rick, he did 2 years ago, I believe, a year or two ago, he did bring in at that time, all of the synthetic drugs that he had. He brought down a large box of it. It's my understanding that there may be some down there now. We don't really know. I haven't been back in there, so I'm not sure if they're selling it again or not. But I think this kind of the intent would be to make sure that they're not, to have it all pulled off the shelf.
Right.
We do get calls from parents, some in Tilton, some outside of Tilton. I have had residents of Guilford and Belmont call me and saying that, they get home and their kids are, in some sort of, a high stupor, that they almost look like they're dying. And when they question the kid about, what they've taken, they tell them it's this spice. And so the parents are very concerned. I think the DEA takes it very serious. They're worried about the health risks to teens with this stuff. But from what I understand now is there's even adults becoming addicted to it. And, I worry about that. And so, I don't know that we could ever totally keep it out of Tilton, but I'd certainly like it to not be sold in Tilton. And I know there's a lot of parents that would stand behind me with this. And so that's why we wanted to bring it to your attention and, consider maybe enacting an ordinance to at least have it not be sold in Tilton.
Well, I say let's make it so. No?
Questions?
Not at all. Why aren't we taking cigarettes off the shelf? They kill people. Nicotine is a...
Airplane glue.
Nicotine is a...
Kills, the stuff you put on your, if you, in an enclosed place, gasoline, all right? I am not an advocate for people smoking incense. I think people who smoke incense are morons. Morons, big M. However, that said, there's nothing, I went down and looked at some of this stuff. They sell it in little kind of shiny packages, about yay big. I didn't open one, but it kind of looked like dry basil or a spice in there. And I asked the guy, is this that K2 stuff? I don't have any first-hand knowledge here, so I was going by newspaper reports and whatever. He says, no, apparently they spray something onto that particular brand. This is some different product. He said he thought it was marshmallow root or something, but it says not for human consumption. I said, do you advocate that people smoke it? He said, I wouldn't smoke that stuff. This is the guy who sells it now. I wouldn't smoke it under any circumstances. Now, and it sounds like we're at the risk of, I don't know what, but I don't want to, there's just too many products out there with the capacity to alter your state of consciousness. And why this one? Because it's gotten bad press?
I personally don't think it's the bad press. I personally haven't received any phone calls on children being in the ER room from cigarettes, or even from glue. But I can tell you, we've had a lot of phone calls about children in the ER from spice. And I think that's a big difference. So, I think we're...
People die from smoking cigarettes. The nicotine is...
No, well, I understand.
But I think I would have to say, you're not talking about children. You're talking about adults.
Instantaneous damage, and I get that.
Children don't die from smoking cigarettes.
Eventually.
Eventually, they do. But by the time they're an adult, that's their decision.
So
What
why is
basis-
fuel illegal?
Well, I haven't seen any calls for
Using it
kids.
to make this horrible drug we just talked about.
But I think that's different.
Is it?
I think so,
I
absolutely.
think this is a parenting issue. This is an educational issue. There are so many things in the marketplace that you can go in and buy, that are legal to buy, that you can abuse. I mean, in my day and age, they used to take the insides out of a Vicks inhaler and chew it and get high. Now, should we make those illegal?
If they're
I mean,
going to the emergency room, I mean,
They made my sinus medication now, so you have to go in with a driver's license to get it because people are abusing that, but I can still buy it, it's legal. So,
correct.
why, like Joe said, why this?
Why this one?
In parenting.
And
We can take this off the shelf, but what's next? And I feel kind of silly even discussing it. Didn't the state legislature yesterday just vote to make organic marijuana available on a recreational basis? Not that I think the governor's going to pass it.
Exactly.
But nevertheless. And
Right.
we're talking about, right now, medical marijuana is out there in the state.
Right,
So
but-
here we have this synthetic product that's being sold as incense that people are abusing on their own.
Right, but
And we want to make an ordinance to pull it off the shelf. Then I say, let's pull off hairspray, glue, and everything else that they...
Beyond that.
I think...
Based on what?
I
Based
think-
on what?
I think it's based on
The DEA.
It's not based on just here. This is an epidemic everywhere you look. When you look at the spice, these kids aren't getting high and just saying, okay, in 30 years we might get lung cancer and die. No, these kids are going to the emergency room now. This is here and now. These are seizures. These are...
And they were dropping like flies from sniffing glue in the 70s.
Well,
Did anybody make
but-
glue illegal?
right, I understand,
It's a
but
parenting issue.
Well,
I don't think the parents can always control
And making it illegal
it.
isn't going to solve it. It's just going to make another illegal substance that
It may not...
It's not,
something else will take its place. Until you teach children
But I don't
not
think...
to abuse this stuff.
Right, is it going to solve the problem? Probably not. But could it help it? Could it save some kids from going to the ER? I would say absolutely. So I think we
And what
can't
about the
solve
kids that
the...
have alcohol parties?
Again, we can't solve all the problems.
We
but
try to arrest
I think
those, don't we?
We
I
can do
think.
what we can do to keep kids out of the emergency room. So I think we're never going to save everybody.
This
It's
is such a
impossible.
little piece of the whole pie.
But
This
if we-
is a crumb of the crust.
but if you don't start somewhere, you're not going to continue the work that they've been continuing to
I
do.
don't intend to vote to make this little crumb illegal unless we're going to talk about all the rest of the things that people abuse.
But isn't this
And I
a
got to tell
start?
you, I'd be much more horrified if one of mine came in and I found out that they were sniffing glue than taking this stupid stuff and trying to smoke it like marijuana, because that destroys brain cells.
Yeah.
This hasn't been proven. This is, and I read up on it. It hasn't been proven that it's,
Have you read all the chemicals that are in it?
Yeah.
I can't even pronounce it.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't think
But,
that, I don't think we can
I can't
judge
read
what
some of
the
chemicals in
effects
some of
are.
my prescriptions, so.
But isn't this sending the whole town a message that we care about our children?
No, I think it's the wrong message. I think the message is to go into the schools and start teaching our kids something. I mean, we have a wonderful person over in Northfield. Doesn't Jen Adams still do that for DARE? And she has an incredible program. I'd be talking to her and say, get into the schools and start talking about this. Get this on your list. This is what's up there now. This is what kids are abusing. Let's get to our children. Let's educate them. Because you educate them about one thing, you get that message across to them, and it is going to get across to the glue and the other things that they're going to abuse. Don't abuse your bodies.
I have a question. How come the state is not addressing this on a state level?
They're trying, there's actually 3 bills in the House right now.
Can't we just wait for that to settle? Because for us to start making a policy like that, if the state hasn't chosen to, and if it's illegal right now, DEA says it's illegal on a federal level, you can go and shut them down. If indeed that's true.
And what's it,
Yeah, we have to test it first. But you're right, we can.
Yeah, there you go. You don't need me to say, yeah, you can't sell incense anymore. And which ones? You know, I kind of know, but I don't know. For all I know, the ones on the stick that come from India, the cinnamon lavender or whatever, if you grind them up and snort them, I'll bet you something would happen.
ow.
Nothing good, but something. I don't know.
Make it
I have a
illegal
hard
in
time.
Tilton, so what? They just go to Franklin, Concord, Belmont, Laconia.
but it's a start.
But it's a
Meredith.
start. and
It's a crumb.
I think it's a
Because they're
great
trying
start.
to do it in Meredith, they're trying to do it in Guilford, and they're trying to do it in
Educate our
Belmont.
children, because there's
Right.
far more
The
things out
communities
there
are
than
starting
just
to-
this.
Can't we educate them and stop the process?
You're not going to stop the process. You might
Stop it
stop it
here.
in Tilton.
You can
You're not going to help it.
It-
It's the wrong message.
At
If
a
I
state
remember
level,
correct-
I would advocate for it at a state level.
If
but
I
don't-
remember correctly, we even got a letter from one of the people that owned the store that said, please take it off the market.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We did.
You're talking about education, which is an awesome thing. When you're educating these kids, if you show them that we pull it off the market for a reason,
Yes.
educate them on everything else too, it's a start. It's going to be a start somewhere.
You're going to make it illegal in Tilton. They can buy it in Franklin, Laconia, and Concord, and everywhere else it's legal. And then they come home with it, and now it's going to be a crime. They bought it legally someplace else, and because they've come into town of Tilton, now they've committed a crime.
Correct.
Well, okay, so now they go buy it in Concord and they sit in their car and they smoke it in their Concord. Now
Then they
they're
drive.
home under the influence of it and they get killed on the highway because we
no
made it
winners
illegal
there.
in Tilton, because we haven't educated our children to leave it alone no matter where it is.
Well, no, because, I mean, again, I think that's not a good comparison. That's like saying we should legalize drugs here in Tilton so you don't have to drive. I mean, that
They are
doesn't make
legal.
sense.
And what if they're not in this? I mean, I'm looking at this,
That's good. That's a good, that's a sharp one, yep.
your ordinance, and they've combined these things.
Get out of that.
This product illegal. Well, what if some of these products, because I'm looking at these, and say, I recognize that name, I've seen that somewhere before, especially the salts. I think those are in my Dead Sea bath salts. So is that going to be illegal for me to have Dead Sea bath salts because those salts are in it?
No, it's the way you use them.
Right.
You know? So, you know, so.
Yeah,
okay,
if
there's
you
the other thing.
start
I go and
smoking
buy
that bath
Maybe
salt,
I
Catherine.
like it as incense.
Then you'll be in
I go home
trouble.
and use it properly. I go buy it in Concord, go home and use it properly. Have I just committed a crime?
Not if you're using it
No.
properly.
So, I mean,
But you're in possession of
No,
something.
that's not what we're trying to do.
And I think we're getting past the intent of this
Right.
ordinance. We're
you're trying to
We're way
protect
past
our
this.
children, and the only
Absolutely.
way
I
you're gonna
appreciate
protect them is to make them wise.
Well,
You can't, what are you going to do when
I
they
don't
go
think
out in the
education is
world?
everything.
They're going to leave Tilton and do what? They're not going to, they're going to say,
I don't think
"Jesus."
education is everything either. We have a lot of education going on right now in the school system, and we have an SRO over there, and we have Jen Adams over there, and it's still continuing to go. They did $3,000 to $5,000 a week in just sales of this
Right.
product. So you
It's
can
the
imagine
teachers
how
and
much...
parents coming to us for help.
You can imagine how much of this is on the streets right now. And it's just a walk for people to get it. Very easy. A walk, simple walk. You don't even have to have a vehicle, just a walk.
Depending on where you live.
Into town, it'll be just a walk
I
in.
mean, the people right over there
I mean, it's-
don't have to have a
It's a
vehicle,
longer
but
walk and it's
Okay.
not
It's a
here.
longer and it's harder to get.
We're beating this up. I make a motion, we adopt the ordinance as
Second,
written.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded as discussion. Before we adopt it, I'd really like to hear from the public. I'd like to have a public hearing and have parents, school, and owners of the
business
businesses
owners,
here.
students or young people who are potentially the clients of this.
Or maybe the students are around the kids that affecting them.
Absolutely.
Are on it.
Absolutely. Teachers,
We need to have
whoever.
a public hearing.
I have a question.
I haven't heard anything that
Let's
would
say by
indicate I
some
should
stretch
vote
of
for
the
this.
imagination,
It's a slippery stuff.
Governor's
Start with that one, then you gotta do all the rest of them.
and make organic marijuana available.
Okay,
That would be very bizarre.
okay.
Well, then what have we accomplished?
Because I think you're talking about two different things again, because these are chemicals. This isn't something growing out in the woods or in
It's
your
a synthetic
backyard.
form of, I
But
forget
synthetic,
what it is.
I know, but synthetic, you got to remember, it still has chemicals in it, different chemicals that
Very bad.
aren't meant for ingestion.
Can never know.
So that's the difference between that, is it's not a
Just like
plant.
tobacco.
These are chemicals that are being sprayed onto this incense. So they're really two different things.
No, the synthetic forms of a lot of things that we take.
So when will we have our public hearing?
Catherine, what do we have on the 30th or the 6th?
On the
When's the
30th?
school board going?
Next. School board?
We don't have anything on the 30th.
Tammy and
Tammy's
Mike will
coming
come in
in
the
next week.
23rd.
Oh, the 23rd.
Right.
23rd is Mike Gagney and this.
We should invite Tammy and get her.
Just
input.
schedule what?
I thought we just scheduled something. We just went through.
We
and
did.
Scheduled
We
it
had-
out into February because we.
We did, because we have Cormier coming in February 13th.
13th, that's in February.
That's that planning,
That's the plan.
Right.
That's the one.
so, February 6th, did you say? Anything?
No, nothing on February.
Dennis wants to come in next week. So it'd have to be after Mike, Tammy and Mike, because we're starting at 4. Is the 30th quick enough or too soon for the public? Joyce? Joyce,
I'm sorry?
is the 30th too early to get the word out for a public hearing? Or should it be the 6th?
Why can't we put it into play? You can always rescind it if you find that the public is against it.
Well, usually you get public input before you have.
Yeah.
Typically, doesn't mean you have to, but typically.
Can you get the ads out soon for the 30th?
I mean, we might want
The
to
merchant.
do more than one
You know what I
paper,
mean? You're gonna make them pull them off the shelves.
Why
Get rid of
can't-
it.
because the echo's only on Thursday.
Put it back on.
If I can put it in 2 papers.
Can you get it in, Donna?
Yeah, I know you threw it all away, but hey.
Not my problem.
Next week, yeah.
How about February 6th at 7 PM?
February 6th at 7 PM?
Do you think that Jen Adams would come?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure she would, yeah.
And Spice.
Anybody that you feel that needs to come to,
Oh, yeah, I can't do this.
Is there any way we could go to the week after then? Does it,
I won't be here.
How
or
about
can you
January
be there?
30th?
It's the 6th.
the
Can you
13th?
go the 13th?
Yep.
13th?
So we're not doing it the 6th, we're doing it the 13th.
13th.
At 7 PM.
Make sure Tammy can be here.
Invite Tammy, please.
And what time?
I'd like the principals of the schools there as well, or the vice principals, somebody.
7 o'clock, or do you want to go 6:30?
Why don't you make it 7, make it last?
What time?
7.
And not schedule anything for after it?
Yeah, that would work.
About
Make it the
Franklin and
last
Belmont high schools, too.
You know,
It's not being sold that I know in Belmont, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it had 2 locations in Belmont.
2 in
Yeah.
Belmont?
Yeah.
But maybe Belmont High School and Franklin High School principals may have.
So if you have,
I know Belmont PD might, I know they're looking into an ordinance as well.
Oh, yeah, Rich.
So
Yeah.
they're very active in this as well.
Yeah.
So they may be interested as well.
Yeah.
you might want to have different folks that are actively looking into this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You want them here for us to hear them. And if
Yeah, this guy
you
actually
think we
called
need a
me.
different venue, then let us know.
Sorry?
do you think that's something that Dawn would do?
Maybe
You can ask them.
Sheriff Hilliard will show up.
Yeah.
That Dawn would have any input on?
This should be a packed
Dawn.
event. It really should. The parents should.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
See what this
Yeah.
is? I don't know what she's referring to.
Although it's not a crime, but she might.
Dawn, the Yap,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, but it might be.
Never remember her last
But it
name.
might be.
Oh,
Shimber.
yeah.
Might be a crime.
No, it's not Shimber.
No,
It's close, though.
yeah.
And so now, as we go forward here, are we going to take our DEA authorization and go snatch samples of these things and start testing them? I mean, if we're not doing that already,
As a health officer.
then this ordinance is just a feel-good measure. Because we already have the authority to test this stuff, right? Because it's illegal on some level, but unless you test it, you wouldn't know.
Correct.
Not illegal, is it?
Oh, there's plenty of them that are illegal.
Some of them are
Already,
illegal
yeah.
according to the
Most of them are.
formulations. Are we
However-
banning an entire class of product, like incense in bags here, or just, you're gonna have to test them anyway, right?
Not with the ordinance, you wouldn't.
They haven't had to do that with this ordinance.
Right, the
in Keene.
So
ordinance-
what exactly would it ban specifically?
If you don't
Incense in bags?
The incense, is just, yes, those incense bags, like you said, you see them when you go down there, Scooby-Doo snacks, or, I mean, the
Until
house
they
I
come
was
up
at
with
today had
something
40 had
different.
40 different bags of spice. It was their drug of choice, one of them today. That's
They
what
say
they do.
it's actually in drug and
it's-
alcohol, it's like in the top 2
It's
for
everywhere.
people suffering
you
from
don't-
addiction now.
Yeah.
Spice.
How much does it sell for?
Yeah, the spice, so this type of synthetic marijuana is like in the
It's-
top 2 in drug and alcohol withdrawal counseling.
It's more than marijuana. It's
But-
$30 a...
How much is a little, one of those bag pouches?
I didn't ask them. To tell you the truth, I didn't
I don't know
even
how
think
much
to ask.
I'm just
How
curious.
much is it? Anybody know?
I don't know the price on them. I'm sure they vary, but I don't know.
purchased it.
So it's gotta be fairly
just looked it up,
expensive,
too.
because it's gotta be fairly
$30
expensive.
an ounce, I believe.
I hope it is fairly expensive for the amount of money that they're selling a week. I mean,
If you don't-
$5,000 a week, those packages are like
yeah.
just little tiny things.
If you don't,
Yeah, actually about enough for one joint. About enough for one joint.
if you don't test it, how do
Not
you
even a
know
blunt.
how? How do you,
In terms of what?
so we make this illegal. If you find a child that has this on their possession, and you don't test it, how are you certain that they actually have it?
Well, I
That's
think
not
we're going
something
on the gist that, when we find a kid, let's say we find a high school kid walking around with 2 packages of this incense in his pocket, is it safe to assume that he's probably not going home and burning in his incense? I'd say it's probably a safe bet that that's not what he's going to do, and most of them will tell you, because in their mind, it's not illegal. So, so they'll tell you. And again, it's not really, we're not making this a crime. Sure, you can have a fine set to you, which I believe it would be on the ordinance, so it's not really a crime. We're just setting a consequence for people that are doing it. And again, I think the target here is not necessarily the kids that are walking around with it, but more, let's just pull it off the shelf so the kids can't get it. So if they want it that bad, as opposed to going down on Main Street, they now have to find a ride to Belmont, or even better, maybe Concord. They have to find a ride to get there to get it. It's more difficult.
And you won't hear
And they're not going to ask their parents if they can have a ride to go get
Absolutely.
chili.
You know, if they're 18 years old, maybe they will, but now these 15, 16-year-old kids,
Yeah.
they're sure not going to ask their
Nope.
parents.
Well, you're
So-
making it illegal in here to possess or transport. That does
Absolutely.
affect the kids.
Absolutely.
So
It can.
there must.
And again, that's the discretion of it, is,
Then
you know,
that's
if
frightening in itself.
What were you going to say, Al?
The news, I just put in that spice word. Family warns teens to stay clear of synthetic drug spice. Is a mourn dead son. Young kid.
And we don't even know what the consequences, what it's doing to their brains and the brain cells.
unfortunately, I don't think anybody does yet, because it's so new, and unfortunately, as soon as they get one down, they change the chemical and put something new in, so who knows what the effects of those drugs
Well,
are.
I saw a program on TV where they had this young lady, she was 17 years old, and she had been doing meth. And she'd only been doing it a little over a year, but she was a very heavy, into it. And they took a picture of her brain, and she had these big black holes all over her brain. These were dead cells, they'll never grow back. And she says, "Oh, you're just trying to scare me." And he said, "This is your brain."
Right.
And he said, "Before you're 30 years old, you will have Alzheimer's so bad that you'll be in an institution your whole life if it doesn't kill you before then." And she thought they were just trying to scare her.
Right.
And I mean, a young person with her whole life, and it's been cut short because of what she's been doing.
Right.
It's very frightening.
Who wrote the definition of this?
I would assume that the attorney did. It was done through according to Tom Mullins, who was the city attorney. He worked with the New Hampshire Attorney General's office when they made this. It was also sent to the state lab, who assisted with the definitions in this. To the best of their knowledge, I think that's why a lot of it is chemical compounds, because only the state lab can tell us what chemicals are the most frequent in these drugs that they're doing.
Well, there's a possibility you'll have to eliminate one line of this if the legislature goes forward. On page 5. But
We,
who can translate it?
In terms of what? I mean, again,
the breakdown of the chemicals.
And I think that's why it is the way it is, because how the state lab explained it to me is this, let's say there's a line with 2 dots over here and a circle over here. Well, all the other chemists are doing that are making it is now they're making 1 line over here and 2 circles over here. So it changes so much, and that's what all this chemical talk is.
Yep.
Is it's just saying, no matter where you put that
Line,
or the X or the
right.
line,
It's still going to affect.
it's still a synthetic drug, and
Right.
it's being used for this. So I think only the chemists could explain that. Obviously, none of us can understand that.
Right.
But I suspect some of these are chemicals, I know some of them are, I recognize some of them, are chemicals that can be used for other things.
Oh, I'm sure.
So my problem is, does this allow for those to be used in other substances?
Well-
Because I'm sorry, I can't read this.
I would say
It's
absolutely.
worse than reading Latin.
Yeah. No, I think it's that combination, the way it was explained to me.
Right.
Yeah.
In that particular drug, or that particular, I guess, product. So, I think if it's used in something else, it's not used to make that product, then no.
Well, I've got a couple weeks to find a translator.
Yeah.
This ordinance does not ban incense in little packages. It bans any number of items
Synthetic.
and drugs that will bind with, let me see,
Right.
CB1 or CB2 cannabinoid receptor sites.
Right.
Which is in a big list of alkaloids and
So you can still go
Marinol
down
or
and buy
whatever.
incense, not with those ingredients.
But it doesn't also say that any of these products shall be labeled as to its contents.
Right.
It's like, basically, any container containing anything might have this stuff in it.
It might.
It might.
Right.
All right, so we haven't actually banned incense. We haven't banned incense in little packages. Nothing actually is any different than what we do. We have the authority to do right now, which is go and grab this stuff and test it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the
Then why aren't we
products
doing that?
The products they're packaging and labeling to target teens, well, that attractive labeling for them,
Yep.
if it contains these chemicals, then we're going to say take it off, if the ordinance was to pass. We're not going after just incense
and I
that you would
think-
burn in your house.
And I think you have to understand that
We
the
have
shop
that
owners know what they're
authority right now,
selling.
don't we?
What's that?
We have to run it
have
through the
that
state
authority.
lab in a testing process, which takes a
Don't you,
while.
wouldn't you have to test?
If you're going to prosecute,
Well,
yeah.
that's a criminal charge. I mean, I can't go down and take a bag from a store on Main Street and send it to the state lab. They're going to say, well, we have 5,000 other criminal cases to test.
Yeah.
So they're not going to, if I'm going to...
It's not a priority,
If it comes
sure.
back, if I say, hey, listen, if this comes back, I'm going to go into this store, I'm going to seize the store, I'm going to arrest the owner, and I'm going to charge all these, well, then they may do it. And if that's the route, I guess the town wanted to go, sure. I could go down there and say, we want to purchase one of these. If any of them come back with any drug, per the town, we're coming in to arrest you, and we're shutting you down. Again, it's a lot of work when we could say, hey, let's pull the stuff off the shelf. You know what's going on with it. So either way, the stuff would be coming off the shelf. It's a matter of, is there going to be serious criminal charges involved or not? So I think this is kind of an easier way to say, hey, listen, we're asking you nicely to pull the stuff off the shelf. The store owners know what it's being used for. They're
have
very
to
knowledgeable.
suspect that they may.
suspect, of course.
I
So
don't know it for a fact,
So-
but they may.
this is a nice way of asking, let's pull it off the shelf and make it more difficult for these kids to get, which is the ultimate goal. I mean, we can never stop it completely. It's not going to happen with any drug. You can't stop it.
It isn't happening now with the other
And
drugs.
you can't stop it.
Okay.
No matter how much education there is.
Good
So
enough.
for now, we have a motion on the table for the ordinance. In the discussion portion of it, I had suggested that we had, we got a second. And I had suggested that we hold a public hearing and hear from the public and other officials and experts on them before we make a decision. So how does the board, you want to rescind your,
Yeah.
you want to,
Withdraw.
Withdraw that.
you're going to withdraw your motion
Yeah, until we do the public hearing.
until we do the public hearing?
And I'll withdraw my second.
Okay. All right, and the public hearing is set for February 13th at 7 PM. And have whomever
Come.
come.
I hope people come.
And
I think you better bring a chemist.
can you get a letter out to
Monday? Oh, that's
the schools and a letter out to,
And then she'll give.
We should call this guy, though.
and the principals, and then a letter out to the owner?
And I actually,
The owner.
I know, like, I've
Of
reached
the
out to
store.
Franklin Hospital. for
All the owners.
Is it
There's
just
a lot
one
of
store? Is it just one store?
Owners,
This isn't directed at one person.
owners of the stores that you
Stores in
feel
the
that...
Any stores.
Any
All
store.
Any
stores
stores.
should be here.
Right.
'cause they
Well,
all
where
can
is
sell
this
it.
being sold now?
Well, we're not exactly sure of all the stores that are being sold that now. No.
I mean, could you go like into Cumbies down here and buy it?
I don't think
know.
so.
Convenience
So
stores,
how are we
that's
going to
the
notice
shelves,
people that
convenience
there's a
stores.
public hearing? How are we going to notice the stores that you feel that are selling this product? Right now, we only know of,
Drop them off make up a thing, well, I'll drop them off at
Yeah, just go to the
convenience
stores and...
It's mostly
All
convenience
stores
stores,
should be
head
going
shops, I can think of 5 or 6.
Any place that sells
Tim could
incense is
use
subject to
Everbridge
having
maybe.
this stuff, I would think.
All stores.
That goes white pages, yellow
No.
pages, I don't know.
I wouldn't exclude Cumberland Farms because I know that...
Agway, maybe not.
Franklin has several things that I've done stories on in the past, so you don't
Okay.
know what they're going to bring into this Cumberland Farms eventually.
Right.
Right.
all right, we have one more proposal to hear from you folks, right?
And that I didn't make copies on, because
Give me a clean copy of that ordinance so that I can make copies available.
Here, John.
Well, no, mine
I
doesn't.
haven't.
Yeah,
Oh, this one did, oh, they all do.
do have a,
Yeah, they all
Experience
belong.
writing. It must be a
Can you
Printer.
send that to Joyce electronically?
So I can print it out so that I can save the
Can
copy
we?
of the
Oh, I'm
ordinance.
sure, yeah.
Is
I think
available.
Lisa has it
get
on her
one of
computer.
these.
Okay.
So if you reach out to Lisa, she can email it to you.
Did you get one of these?
Yeah, she
No.
did.
Oh, yeah, is that the ordinance?
Did it?
Yeah. Well, it's not really, but that's what they're,
Just a proposal.
yeah.
Oh, we have an
Are any of these particular chemicals illegal now? Are they on a?
Many of them.
Many of them are, so it's, are there, which
Oh,
ones?
I shouldn't say most are
Which-
on.
Which ones that are on here are not illegal currently?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
You know,
We'll try and find
chemically,
that
I don't know which ones are. They change so often. I mean, I saw the two of the chemists today, and we actually discussed this, and they can't even keep up with it because it changes so often. I mean, you could buy the same package, and, you know, a month later, that same package is going to have a different
Something new
chemical
in it.
sprayed onto it.
It's not regulated on any level, so.
ordinance, and 6 months from now, it would be ridiculous because the substances change so much that this doesn't cover it?
Well, and then again, talking to the lab, they believe what is in this ordinance is the broadest thing that they can do to encompass the changes that are happening.
And all they're
So
gonna do is
again-
change it around to make.
Again, it'll never be
I mean, we may
perfect.
have to amend it someday if it passed.
Right.
To add a couple more chemicals.
We have other appointments that are here and waiting for us, so we're going to move on to the pawn shop proposal.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, too, that we were just kind of monitoring, and, you know, for the most part, we try to get voluntary compliance, but we always worry that stores coming in all the time, that a new one may come in and not, but is to keep track of where all the items are going from our burglaries, and to close our burglaries, and also some of our robberies. And so, you know, ultimately, all law enforcement is asking of the stores is to keep accurate records of everything that's coming into the stores and going out, so that if your house gets broken into, we can get down there and hopefully try and track down some of your personal belongings. Right now, it's on the honor system, basically, and so a lot of communities are starting to look towards an ordinance to say you will keep a record if you're in that business, and just make it available for clients if they need to come down and check it. We do communicate with the other communities that do have ordinances. They share their lists with us, so that if we have a burglary and that suspect takes the items over to Laconia and pawns them, we can go through that list, and if you had a very precious, family diamond ring that was stolen, we can look and see if it's on that list and try and recover it for you. And they are, by ordinance, keeping records. We don't have that ability if a store moved in tomorrow and said, "No, we don't feel like doing that." We really can't do anything about it. So.
There's no state requirements on that level?
No, and actually, I think just about every town or city that has a pawn shop really has an ordinance. And most of the ordinances, like if you look at Manchester and Laconia, they actually make these owners that when you buy jewelry, Manchester, you have to hold it for 30 days. So you can't melt it, you can't sell it, you can't do anything with it for 30 days. And that gives law enforcement people time in case you need it. After 30 days, they still have the documentation of who brought it in, that stuff. And we're not, I mean, I personally think 30 days is excessive. It's hard for business to stay in business holding stuff for 30 days. I think the purpose of this, we all know we do have one pawn shop in town, Fast Cash. They are very good. They keep excellent records in terms of everybody that comes in just gets a photograph taken and need to have a driver's license. And they take a picture of you. If they bring in jewelry, they just take a picture of the jewelry and it all gets documented. They email us records every week, so I can go through and see who bought what at Fast Cash, description of it, if there's a serial number, the serial number attached, so that if there is a theft, because unfortunately, probably 60-70% of this stuff ends up in a pawn shop somewhere. We can track it. We can find who the person is that brought it in. I can tell you we've solved probably more cases than any other case in Tilton through these pawn shops. But what we're kind of running into is there are several businesses in town that buy things, whether it be jewelry or other coins, other items. We have found stolen merchandise there, but there's no way for us to track it. So if I go in and say, well, who brought this in? We don't really know. And that's what we want to avoid. So by this, we're looking for basically just the documentation purposes. To say if somebody brings in jewelry, you're going to take their driver's license, record the driver's license, take a picture of them, and take a picture of the the stuff they brought in.
Is it net?
We just had a request for that, for a pawn.
Right, but is that just for pawn shops, or is that for
It's actually,
anybody who buys gold?
it's for gold. Well, I shouldn't say just gold, it's for pawn shops,
Jewelry.
jewelry stores, gold.
Want to make sure.
You know, because
It would
unfortunately,
even apply to, brand name
Anybody.
jewelry store
What do you
at
do
the
about the
outlets.
fellow that comes in and rents a space in one of the inns and- for a week to buy gold?
I think he's
You'd
got to
fall in
document
line
it.
with this ordinance,
I think he's got
yeah.
to document it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a sample ordinance?
We do, I didn't bring copies. Did
Yeah,
you make copies, Chief?
Take it down and make copies.
Does this add a significant burden to those people who might buy gold? The one that comes to mind is TLC. Not because of anything except for it's right over there and it popped in my head.
No.
They buy gold. If I've got a gold chain, they're going to buy it, they're going to melt it down or whatever.
Right.
Have
I
there
think-
been problems with this?
I
What kind
think
of a-
if we looked in here, and I want to look back, I think we were asking them to hold it for 7 days as opposed to the 30 that, Laconia is and
So they would
Manchester.
take a picture of the, you're asking them to take a picture of the person that's selling it, like,
And they
with a
have to-
picture ID,
And they have to have a photo ID to...
photo ID.
Yep.
And then documentation of
Of what they...
what they sell, what they sold and so on, and hold it for 7 days. It's
7 days,
basic-
and then you can do what you want, but you're still going to have that picture. So if someone broke in your house and stole your ring, and they, let's say, brought it to Main Street down here, well, now they've taken a picture of the kid that brought it in
Right.
and your ring. So now we can go after that person.
And link them together.
And eventually solve your crime and try to get any other stuff that may still be out there back. And I think that all the stores here, I don't think anybody will have an issue with it. Fast Cash does this voluntarily. There's nothing holding their hand to the fire to do this. They do it just because they don't want to buy stolen stuff, but ultimately, inevitably, it happens. Because, we all know, kids can come in with 1,000,001 stories of how they got this stuff, and,
Yeah, sure.
and, it happens. But
And they're very creative.
and they're
Right,
very
all ages.
creative.
I think adults are...
And adults, and so what they do is, at least this holds the hand of the fire. So now, these guys know that, hey, if I'm gonna sell this jewelry from a burglary, man, now they got my ID, and they took a picture of me with it. So, it's probably gonna take, an extra minute out of the time to snap a picture and write down their driver's license number, and then they're out the door,
They
so.
have like a separate book of the sale,
Right.
documentation, and like a
Very
ledger
simple.
or something, yeah.
And actually, what Fast Cash does is they just enter it right in like an Excel spreadsheet to me, and they just email it once a week, every Friday, so that we can do it every Friday.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Let's just say I break into a house.
Yep.
I steal a jewelry box. I go to Fast Cash and give it to them. I get the money.
Yep.
They hold on to it for a week, right? Nobody reports it's stolen because Catherine, who I stole it from, is out of town, and she comes back.
Excellent.
They've melted it down.
Yes.
Does Fast Cash then get stuck somehow?
With what?
With anything. I mean, somebody is out, they took and
Yeah, I
melted
mean,
down a
sometimes-
stolen thing.
Well, here's where people get out. So let's say, I'll take your example, for instance. Fast Cash holds
Sorry,
it for
Catherine.
7 days, they sell it, okay, because it's the 9th day.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, for the victim in the crime, she's not going to get her ring back.
True.
However, Fast Cash has now provided us with a picture of the person that did it, with photo documentation that I brought to Catherine, and she said, that's my class ring right there, that's my ring. And so now I can go back and charge this guy, so she's not going to get her ring back, but she is going to get restitution for it, she's going to get her money back.
Is Fast Cash going to be on the hook for this?
No. So what...
Because they
Fast Cash-
followed the
Right.
general, like, all right.
Because what happens is
Documentation,
they're
right.
actually, Fast Cash is actually a victim themselves.
Yeah.
Because let's say I went up on day 6,
Yeah.
and I find that ring, I'm going to take that ring, so now Fast Cash paid $200 for that ring, so they're out
SOL.
$200.
Yeah.
So now that person has to pay Fast Cash back $200 and any other restitution to the other victim. So there's actually 2 victims in the crime when we recover stuff,
Yep, yep.
because we want to give Fast Cash their money back that they paid for this stuff.
Sure.
So,
Thank you, Steve.
Makes sense. I just hate to see the business owners getting
Under the
in trouble for this.
Ability to make ordinances, or are we dabbling in zoning ordinance territory?
Zoning ordinance
territory? No, I believe you do have the authority. I think if you read the state statute on, in pawn things, you got that folder up?
Yes.
I think I include,
Is it in there on, what the state?
They're in there in the
I
back.
included it in the back of
It's in the
this.
back of this,
Okay,
Joyce.
it says
For you.
towns can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in the back.
Oh, he's got all of them, Catherine, here.
Yeah, I put them in the back.
So we have the authority.
Yeah.
I knew the town did, I just wasn't sure whose it was.
The governing body of any town, city, and unincorporated place. So on the front of this, it says license, all pawnbroker, pawn shops shall be duly licensed by the state. Right now, they don't have a license by the state, am I correct in saying that?
Or I don't believe they do.
And we
So-
don't have one by the town, so the only thing that would be governing them under a certain criteria to help law enforcement recover anything would be an ordinance.
Right. And
Right.
and in case, you know, let's say somebody came in
It-
tomorrow for a week and wants to, you know, needs to get a license to, you know, do business on Main Street of collect
Oh, like a
gold.
hawkers and...
You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of making sure that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
once they come in and get that hawking license
Yeah.
or whatever it is, now, they now fall under this ordinance that they still
At the
have to
same
report to us
time,
what
because
they're
they're,
buying.
what they're doing.
Where it falls under the state is this, if they actually loan you money
Right.
for an item, so you come in, you give them your diamond ring, and they're gonna loan you
Okay.
$1,000, then they come under a state license.
Okay.
So currently, we don't license pawnbrokers.
Right.
So this would be part of our license regulation? for
No,
them?
this is
This-
record keeping and inspection
And we're
ordinance.
trying to determine how we're going to...
Oh,
Decide who falls under this.
We're not making an ordinance here, we're creating a license.
No, we're creating a,
Keeping.
I interpret it as an
an
I think
ordinance.
it's an ordinance.
ordinance for compliance.
Your RSA's,
Our unincorporated place may license suitable persons to carry on the business, doesn't say make an ordinance.
I think at the top, it says the intent of the ordinance is to ensure compliance of pawn shops, pawnbrokers, jewelry stores, or any other businesses that purchase, trade, or
Are you
receive.
reading that?
The very top,
Very
first
top,
page
first
one.
page. You're reading the state
You're reading the
statute?
state RSA's,
The
yeah.
front-
in the state statute on licensing.
Licensing.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I'm reading the state statute on pawnbrokers, 398.
that's, yeah, if they,
Licensing.
Pawnbrokers are
They
going to be
lend
the-
you money.
Lend you money. So you give me your diamond ring, I'll give you $100, and now you have to pay interest.
I'm looking for, right now, what is our right to create this ordinance? Well, I was told it was in the pawnbrokers. The only thing I can find in the pawnbrokers law is the governing body to license pawnbrokers.
that's gonna come under,
Well, within the
that's gonna
license
come under the
requirement.
selectmen's, to create an
Yeah, it
ordinance.
could be in the creation, but
Right, Sandy?
I remember when we tried to make an ordinance on
That would be under,
I think you got a point, because it does say may license,
Yeah.
and I'm not
It's in the base.
you're gonna have to, what did you trip over?
My feet.
I think that's gonna
It would
be,
have to be, it looks according to the section 398:5, it would have to be a license, because then there are fees under it. But under the general regulations in pawnbrokers, no person shall receive in pawn. It talks about it in the 398:1, but it doesn't say who governs it.
398:7 says, "The board which grants licenses may from time to time establish regulations relative to the business carried on by the pawnbrokers." So I think that's probably where we get an authority to say,
Yeah, 398:7.
you have to do what you guys want us to have them do.
right.
Would you agree, Joyce?
I would.
Well, I'm just
Makes
thinking,
sense.
right now, we have an ordinance that allows us to license refuse haulers. And we have an ordinance that allows us to do the hawkers and peddlers.
Right.
So wouldn't we have an ordinance that would set up the procedure for licensing?
But look at
Site
398:7. You've got it in the back, 398:7.
Yep.
Board which grants licenses may from time to time establish regulations, so we are a board that could grant licenses, although we don't.
Right.
We can establish regulations relative to the business carried on by pawnbrokers. So that would, I think, cover us,
Yeah,
5 and 7.
yeah.
Correct.
5 and 7.
That makes sense.
If this passes as a regulation, I think it should stay in the PD's hands, because if, say, a person coming in to do gold, purchasing it, the town cannot go there and watch them, whether they're...
No, it would be in the PD's hands.
Right, right. So
Right.
hawkers and peddlers...
No, it's not any-
would come out of ours.
No, it's,
Through the PD.
it would strictly be a pawnbroker,
It would be through the PD.
a pawnbroker.
I think it would have to be through both,
Have you ever
just as
seen
our
these
hawkers and peddlers.
gold parties that people have?
Say that again?
Have you seen these gold parties? I know there was someone in Lockmere, that's why I'm bringing it up, would have gold parties, you could bring in your gold and they would assess it, and like
Just
like a Tupperware party, but it's a
Yeah,
gold
just like
party.
Tupperware, except these are gold parties.
That's
Yeah.
the transient.
Yeah, I mean, if it fell in line in this
Yeah.
definition, they might have to keep records.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just curious
That's
because
scary.
I've been invited to those, with, oh, bring the gold down and we'll look at it, we'll give you a price. and
Right, and
If they
they
meet
do
the-
hold those.
Yeah,
It's a Tupperware party for gold.
yeah.
With their ass.
Instead of you buying, you're selling.
Or like Pampered Chef. I mean,
Though they're not
my
identified in
daughter-in-law is
the
the same
ordinance.
thing, she's been to Pampered Chef and buy your gold,
I mean,
you
that-
know,
that doesn't-
anything.
And that part may
Right in
not
your own
fall under.
home.
Let's have one conversation at one time, please. Thanks.
Answer Catherine.
Yeah.
The whole reason for having an ordinance is so that you can enforce a penalty. So just by
Or a consequence.
licenses, you want to be able to enforce a penalty if they don't get a license. So,
Not necessarily, because we would do a consequence as well. I mean,
for a license...
Misdemeanor.
right.
What's a misdemeanor?
Well, it's my understanding,
Crime.
anything that there is a
I know what a
penalty...
Fine over
violation,
$1,000.
It depends.
In order to enforce that, you would be adopting
Violation is up to $1,000.
an ordinance is a law.
Well,
License is not a law.
it's my understanding,
Acquiring a license is a law.
my understanding from what they're trying to do is we're doing the ordinance to require that people keep records,
Violation's not a crime.
keep records of what they're doing, so that if there is theft, the records can be looked at.
All right, so they're not requiring a license, they're just requiring...
We're just requiring that the
Yeah, this isn't a license.
documentation criteria for pawnbrokers.
Oh, I don't know. If you go over here, it says that if there are more than 3 violations in a 1-year period, your license to sell in town shall be revoked. Now, that sounds like there's some kind of a license involved.
Right.
But the ultimate purpose of it is
Where are you,
to-
Joe?
I'm on page, it's not marked, 1, 2, 3, the third page in,
Under
4, no, yeah, 4, penalties.
number 4.
Yep,
The very last sentence in that, the license to sell in town shall be revoked. Now, unless it actually requires a license,
That needs
that's
some work.
really not a,
Yeah, so we can strike that part,
License part out.
that
because-
license part out.
Right.
Like I said,
There has to be a consequence, but,
Right.
right, it would
Strike
be, the
license.
consequence would be the dollar amount.
Right, so we strike that last sentence.
did you want to have a public hearing on this as well?
I think it should be.
Yeah, do
What
it
do
the
you
same
think?
night?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna have issues. It's just gonna,
Right.
this is more for, if people start coming to town, it's gonna hold them accountable
Right.
for what they're doing, is the ultimate goal here. So,
Think twice.
yeah, I think we should.
Do you
think
want
it's,
to, does the
31-101.
board want to entertain a
Covers-
public
gives them
hearing,
the ability.
perhaps maybe on the same night?
yeah, I'd like to
Yeah.
hear from some of the affected businesses.
Mm-hmm.
See what it does to them and get the language cleaned up
Right.
as far as
And then
licensing,
you can
no
look at
licensing,
RSA
whatever.
31-102.
I'm not against
As far as
safeguarding
giving you guys
people's
the
property,
ability to do
certainly.
this.
I think the one that you gave us does, 7 and 5 does it. The selectmen
It's not-
It's under-
by themselves don't give us the authority to, but that RSA does, through the licensing.
Right.
Do you have a sample license?
License for,
Pawnbrokers.
They have to fill out a form?
I don't have a sample, I'm sure we could get one.
Yeah, those that come in to sell.
Yeah, I know, because there is one store that went through that process, and it's a state license.
Yep.
Yeah, I met with them,
Community out there that's
because
already doing
they're
it.
gonna do loans for items,
Right,
so,
so there is something.
oh, yeah, yeah.
We should have some given to us before
Yeah.
the public hearings, we can look at it.
Right.
We want to-
Do you, I got a feeling that the spice and issue is going to be a larger, much larger issue than the pawnbroker documentation ordinance. Do you want to have it on the same night, or do you want to split them up on
Yeah,
two
just have it
different
next
nights?
week. I think we can rip this one out real quick.
Yep.
I think this is just a matter of putting
Yeah,
it
with
together.
language.
And
Yeah.
getting a license that we
Yep.
can work with, and then, yeah.
Right.
So, we'll notify the potential business owners that we'll have a public hearing next
Yep.
week.
How about we just have some public input? I don't want to have a formal hearing.
Public input's fine.
Public input at 7 PM.
On the
As long as the
On the
word gets out.
23rd.
Are we proposing a fee for this license? Or is it just a license?
Yeah, this is just a compliance ordinance to keep records.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not asking them to get a license.
Okay,
from us.
all right.
Public input.
So make sure that that's worded properly. It's a compliance ordinance
For record keeping.
for
essentially.
record keeping. Okay, all right, so we'll hold off on making a decision till next week.
Yep.
Yep.
Do you have anything else?
I think I'm all set.
I think we're all set.
Again, great work for
Yes.
taking another meth lab off the books.
Thanks.
Yeah?
Yay, yay, yay.
Right. Another one down.
Another one bites the dust.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's one thing we don't need.
Wonderful work.
Amazing how different they can be.
What?
From this to the other.
Oh, I know.
Where did they get the epinephrine?
And
or
Chief,
whatever
you're
that-
on a little bit
pseudo-
later after we do the,
Pseudoephedrine or?
on your report,
The drugstore.
Where did they get the pseudoephedrine for this? Don't you have to sign?
the February,
Oh, Chief, never mind. Never mind, I'm all right.
right.
Can I stick this back in here? And Catherine, I'll find out if we have to do it in an ordinance format, or you just do it as a policy?
Yeah, if you, no, it's through the licensing. If you look at that, what they gave us, if you look at 398:5, which gives us right to license, then further on here, the miscellaneous section.
So the board will just adopt a motion.
398:7, the board grants licenses from time to time, may establish regulations relative to the business carried on by pawnbrokers.
Okay.
So I think it's there.
Might,
But we definitely wouldn't have the authority of the selectmen ordinances.
Okay, next on our agenda, and I apologize for the lateness, is Susan Laverick, Lake Region Partnership for Public Health.
Hi, dear. Hi. So to pull up one more chair? Absolutely. 15, 10 minutes?
here are your keys.
Okay, thanks. Come on up.
So I'm going to start. Thank you for having us here today. I'm Lisa Morris. I'm the Executive Director of the Lakes Region Partnership for Public Health, and this is Susan Laverick. She's our Associate Director, and Kathleen Merriam, she's the coordinator of our Community Emergency Response Team. And so we're here today to talk to you a little bit about the agency, just so that you can become more familiar with the work that we do. I know Catherine and I have met before, and Pat and I, we've met before. And then the the brunt of what we want to talk with you about is our work with the chief and with your fire chief around emergency preparedness and response activities, and that'll be what Susan and Kathleen talked to you about. So we have some information for you regarding the organization, and one of the things that is really important, oh, wait, look, we have enough. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So, in the past, we're a public health organization, which is a little different than a healthcare organization in that we look at population-based health versus health care. So we look a lot, we use a lot of data to determine what some of the priority areas in the region are. For example, there may be high rates of heart disease or high rates of cancer or high rates of asthma. And we look at those from a population-based perspective. And then we work with community, we pull all sectors of community together to not only identify those needs in a more detailed way, but to figure out how, as a community, we're going to move the dial. So reduce asthma, reduce cardiovascular disease, reduce diabetes, and so forth and so on, based upon the priorities. So in the past, Tilton really hasn't been a part of our public health region. You have worked very closely with Caring Community Network of the Twin Rivers, CCNTR, who's been the public health entity, and they still are. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what has changed for us. I do want to say that our Service Link program, which is a program that provides services and supports to older adults with disability and their families, is, we've always been Service Tilton. So that has always been a Belknap County service area. So what happened recently was that the state Department of Public Health Services changed the region a little bit. And so now we are working in partnership with the Caring Community Network of the Twin Rivers, CCNTR, to provide the array of public health services that is required for the region. So here is the new region. You can take a look at it. But needless to say, we are working in collaboration with them. So when you look at public health, really what we do is we do health promotion, disease prevention, this is a good way of thinking it, and protection from environmental threats. So we do some work in looking at healthy homes around lead and asthma triggers and so forth and so on. We also provide substance abuse prevention. I believe Chief Cormier is going to be sitting on our leadership team there, as he does with Susan and the emergency preparedness team. We do oral health education, we do sun safety, and that's to reduce melanoma rates here in the region. We do suicide prevention, healthy homes initiatives, and so forth and so on. And the list of services that we provide to the community grow or shrink based upon funding sources. Much of our funding comes from the federal government down through the state to us, so although we have a variety of other funders as well. So that's an overview of who we are in terms of the partnership, and Susan is going to talk with you a little bit about emergency preparedness.
So greetings, Tilton Select Board. It's very nice of you to invite us here today, and we appreciate the time. So as Lisa said, my focus primarily is on emergency preparedness. If you look at the map, one of the towns that's missing on that map is Moulton Borough. So picture them inside the map, because we provide emergency preparedness services in collaboration with the town of Moulton Borough. So that's an additional town. However, the drug and alcohol piece of it does not include Moulton Borough. So it's a little something that's new to us. So we have been preparing for pandemic emergencies since 2006 over in Laconia and the surrounding towns. Since that time, I've been doing this work since 2006, and since that time we've been able to put together, with the help of, as Lisa mentioned, fire, EMS, and police officials and so on, and town officials, we've prepared an emergency response plan. And we have had to utilize the plan during the past several years. For example, One of the things that we responded to was H1N1 during 2009. It was sort of the epidemic pandemic that never really came to fruition, but all of the preparedness activities we did enabled us to mount a response to the situation. Kathleen's a piece of that, a significant piece of that in terms of her CERT team. She'll describe that to you. So in a nutshell, we are looking at now, because the region has been enlarged, what do we do if something bad happens? And we have about 85,000 people to think about. We have 2 hospitals that we focus on. They're both Lakes Region General, but it's Franklin and Lakes. And so the state has certain deliverables with our contract, and one of those is if something bad happens and we have to have injections into individuals or pills, there's 2 sites you should be familiar with. One is Lakes Region Community College, and over here, since the plans were already in place, it's Winnisquam Middle School. So this is what you need to know in terms of the towns. If people are coming from Hill, they will go to Winnisquam. If they're coming from Tilton, they'll probably go to Winnisquam. If they're in Meredith, they'll probably go to Laconia. We have to make plans and build capacity so that we have enough people to provide the service that's needed. The good news is we seldom have these pandemics that we build for, so the emergency preparedness activities enable us to respond in a very effective way to things like ice storms, weather-related issues, where we have to perhaps open up a shelter because people don't have electricity. There's a significant amount of the population that's on oxygen. So right now, our activities for this upcoming year are working to establish alternate care sites that include procedures for low-flow oxygen delivery. And so there's a lot of work being done around that now. And so our partners have been, as I said before, fire, EMS, police, town officials, and we're just continuing to build capacity to respond. That's a really quick summary. You should also know that in the past several years, we've ordered and received supplies that are the property of the entire region. For example, we have gloves, we have masks, we have beds and things of this nature to open up a shelter. And Kathleen's going to speak with you more about, okay, you've got the facilities, now who's going to show up to run those various facilities. So.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Merriam. I'm the coordinator of volunteers for the Community Emergency Response Team. Presently, we have 35 members. Next Thursday, I'm hoping we'll have 39 because we're interviewing more people. We've been in existence since 2007 when Chief Ken Erickson in Laconia, recognized the need to have citizen volunteers to help with all kinds of disasters and emergencies, and that's what we have. Our volunteers go through a program, an 8-week program, and in all areas of disasters. For instance, the first class they take is disaster preparedness. Then they take disaster psychology. They do fire safety. Chief LaChapelle did that for us last time. We have the first responders teach them to really get a real good view and a taste of what we do. By having the first responders so involved in our program, our members, our volunteers, and the first responders in the area all get to know who we are and our capabilities. And so when a disaster occurs, you're not turning around and somebody saying, oh, hi, who are you? They already know who we are. So we're really excited about our new region, the new, 6 towns? That
7.
we have? 7 towns that we're adding to the 9 towns we had before. We do things like rehab, which is rehabilitation for the fire departments. If there's a 2-alarm or more, if we're on their call card, they have a call card at Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid. If we are on their call card at a 2-alarm plus fire, they will call us in. We will provide food and hydration for the firefighters. We have a what we call a CERT-mobile, which is a converted, the Laconia Police Department had it. They were just transporting stuff. There was an old 1985, I believe, mail truck, and we converted it, and we have all of our equipment in there. So we can pull that up to a fire, set up 2 tents, set up tables, chairs, everything that the firefighters need. We also do a lot of traffic control. The police departments will call us out for different things, like for a fire or for events. We help with large events like triathlons and that kind of thing, if towns need that. Or wires down, they'll call us out in the middle of the night. So we have an activation system, an automatic activation system that we just put in place this year. They will call our members out and ask them if they're available. If not, can they be available for a later shift, that kind of thing. We do animal sheltering as with sheltering. We've opened up 2 shelters so far, one during the 2008 ice storm, one during Irene. It was very short because it didn't slam us, it slammed up in Vermont. But we had 20 people, we had 4 infants in our shelter. We did the animal sheltering as well. I think we were the only shelter in all of New Hampshire that did animal sheltering.
Kudos to you.
And our people are all trained in that, so. We also do public disaster training. We have a program called Stay Lead Connect that we can do for small or large groups, and it's just teaching people the basics of being prepared, because it's just a matter of when something big is going to happen. So we want our citizens to be prepared. We also have a children's program where we can go into 5th grade classrooms and teach them about disaster preparedness as well. We've done several flu clinics. I think we did 15 this year, which helps us we went into the school, we did the school-based flu clinics, but it also helps us get prepared for a big pandemic. So if we have to open up big pods or points of distribution, our people know the organization. We know how to flow people with registration and getting them done, observation, and getting them right through any kind of disaster like that. That's basically what we do. We are trained, besides the 8-week program, after somebody gets in, we have a training every single month, an advanced training. I just heard you say you've got a meth lab, right? But we've been trained on what that looks like, how we can help, where we have to stay away from it, provide perimeter help with that, evacuation, knocking on doors, that kind of thing. So that's basically what we do, and thank you very much. These are 2 of our, we have a newsletter that goes out, and about every 2 months we send it out. These are our latest 2, if you would like to take one. If you want me to send them to you, I can send them to one person or all of you. I just need emails. Okay.
Go to Joyce
And I will send it electronically.
I think it's important to realize that, because sometimes people say, well, why does a public health agency have a CERT team? And these CERT volunteers are the staff of our response in the event of an emergency. So they will staff any of the clinics that we have to set up the points of distribution sites, and they have to be able to do traffic, because we have lots of people coming in and assist with safety and fire relative to staffing the clinics.
How do you coordinate with the other agencies that also have emergency preparedness? And I'm thinking of Red Cross. They have...
And towns. You have
We have our own. I mean, we have...
Right, exactly.
Set up. The Red Cross came in, they have just acquired...
You've got a different one, Joyce. I've got this, thank you.
I'm going to call them, but they sound like tractor trailers full of stuff.
Summer.
And we work very
So how do
closely
you
with them.
coordinate with that?
Well,
So no, there's a disaster. I mean, do you both show up? Does one show up? Or does it depend on the size of the disaster?
Well, I had the coordinator, Red Cross coordinator's number on
Speed dial?
speed dial on my phone, and his name is Ian Dyer, and he's in charge of Red Cross disasters in New Hampshire, and I think in a bigger area, actually. He did a training for us last night, so we have a really good relationship with them. It's all about relationship. If we need them, they will help us out. If they need us, we will help them.
So who's the first responder?
The framework in which all of this emergency response happens in New Hampshire, and you might be familiar with this because prior to our entering the picture, Jim Richardson was the emergency
Very
prep coordinator.
familiar,
So Jim prepared for this region and established with partners a framework that the state has guided us with. And the framework is a MACE, Multi-Agency Coordinating Entity. So when something big happens, it's not each town calling up to the state for resources, it's that group of towns in a coordination entity called the MACE. And that's where all of the resource decisions are made. It's a coordination entity. So that MACE would be making one call up to the state and saying, we need 8,000 vaccines. And then from the MACE, we, the MACE participants, would be calling and communicating with the 16 towns, EMDs, fire and police and health officers, conveying information about resources, conveying information about the illness at hand, because it is related to public health emergencies. Does that answer your question about coordination?
It kind of frightens me because I'm sitting here thinking, how long does that take? I'm thinking of the tornado that took place. People needing shelter, emergency response people,
Well, in our, it's a great
those
question.
people didn't really, a lot of time shouldn't take place before somebody responds with those necessary items.
The state...
So that's my question.
Yeah.
Who is it that responds first? Your entity, Red Cross? Somebody has to be the first one, and then somebody has to be the backup if they need more.
So
Because
our...
that discussion shouldn't take place when the disaster is upon us.
Right.
That's correct.
Our duty is to act, the state will tell us, you're on your own for 3 days. That's what they will tell us.
So you're the coordinator.
That's correct. You're on your own. As a region, we're on our own for 3 days if something big happens. Other than that, if it's a buildup, so for example, with the most recent weather, we were gearing up for opening the multi-agency coordinating entity. So what it looks like is Ken Erickson is the coordinator over in Laconia of the entity. He would probably invite Kathleen and I to come to a meeting to get ready. What are we looking at? What's the weather looking like over the next few? Luckily, we have the ability to plan in a situation like that. So then we ramp up. You do
There was no planning for that tornado.
Well, there's times when you can plan and there's times when you can't plan.
Right. I'm thinking
And
of the
so-
times when you can't.
When you can't plan, it's basically all hands on deck. We're lucky we know the partners that we know. We sit at meetings with them on a regular basis. We know incident command. We're all trained in incident command. Every volunteer has to have the framework of response. Who's the leader? Who calls the shots in this situation? So that we're all responding under the same framework.
But basically, you all come in at once, the one person up here will control everything.
It depends on...
Talk about it first.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You get the one person that's going to control everything.
The state could...
The state, if it's a public health emergency, and we don't know, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what kind of medication to give people, so of course, we're relying on the state in terms of, here's the vaccine, its dosage. If it's more regional, like, for example, the Hurricane Irene that happened, it'll be the larger municipalities like Laconia and now probably Tilton and Franklin that will begin to ramp up as the MACE people. What are we going to do?
But to get to the question of if something happens, it's like, we follow what they call an incident command system, and that's through FEMA, if you ever want to look it up or take the test. They have a NIMS, which is National Incident Management System, where everything is set up, like you do have a position, not a person, but a position, and we have what they call a span of control. You can't control more than 3 to 5 or 7 people at one time. So everybody has their job to do, and it's set up that way. So you have this person, he has 3 or 5 people to give orders to or to converse with, and they are positions, and that can change. Those positions can
They
change.
branch out from there.
That's
So
right, and
I'm-
then it goes down to there. It's like a branch.
And it was structured in this way because of the disasters that happened in 9/11, right? That sort of response was not helpful.
Right.
Well, that's
So I
a
think
thing
it
to
would
say.
begin-
I didn't really mean it in that way, but you know what I mean, that it was chaotic. And so
Very
this
chaotic.
provides some structure to reduce the chaos.
And since you are the boss of the police and fire, Most
No.
Police.
Police only.
Fire district.
I didn't know that, so thank you. So many select boards are taking some of these trainings, and if you're ever interested, Kathleen and I can work with you on that. Incident Command, ICS 101 is kind of like the basic.
ICS 100.
100, thank you.
Now, it really does begin, if we had an incident like the tornado, it really does begin with our police department or fire department that makes a phone call and says, listen, we've had a tornado that just went through Hill Road and it's just destroyed all. That's where it really begins, and I think that's what Catherine was referring to.
Well, that's our
And
call-
we cannot be activated. We're only activated by police, the EMDs.
And I think that's where she was getting
The
at.
fire department,
And
and
our-
it goes through either the sheriff's department dispatch or, we've talked, and they can call me directly. He's got my cell phone, so,
In our town, it is our chief.
yes.
He is the top of our pyramid.
Right, and the supplies are, this
Right, we're
cache of
resources.
supplies.
We're resources. We augment, we try to build up capacity, augmenting your ESFs, your local, but the state will always say, all emergencies are local, all emergencies are local. So it starts in your own town. And we're a
As
resource.
far as like the tornado, we did respond for 3 weekends afterwards. And we can't respond during it, but we helped out, we kept people away while the, up on Hollywood Boulevard Road, up until, in Alton and over there. And the PSNH went through, but they had to wait for the loggers to go through to get rid of the logs. So we tried to, our job was to keep people away. So that's what we did. The first weekend, we did that for 2 days straight. Then the next weekend, we stopped people from going into where some of the damaged areas were, just, guarding kind of the area so that there wouldn't be looters.
Now, the Incident Command training, once you take it, do you have it, or is it once you have to renew it? No?
It's a one-time deal.
It's a one-time
You get a
deal.
certificate, and it's...
And all of our people, in order to be on our team, have to take that.
And how many weeks is that?
It's right online.
You can do it online, and each section depends on, I think there's actually a specific section for town officials. So if you take the overall ICS 100 and then augment it with, you'll see on the FEMA.gov the various levels, and, your responders in the community have the duty to have certain levels, and we focus on specific levels. I think it's ICS 800, I think that is.
Yes, Chief Cormier is.
800?
Is it 800?
That's the one we need?
It probably 100 and 800, because
They offer them at the Fire Academy too, and it's in all those, they're listed on the Fire Academy website.
I can send you information and links that you might want to take a look at.
Okay.
And
That'd be
Chief
great.
Cormier's been great. He's very proactive about connecting with the new entity that's organizing, and he's also your EMD, which doesn't happen all the time, but it is in Meredith, and it is here in Tilton. At least those are the 2 towns I know of that police chief's the EMD. So what questions do you have now?
I think we've asked them, I think. Bill?
The specifics, I could ask you dozens of specific questions, but big picture, I'm just glad that somebody's on it. Because if we wait until all of a sudden the H1N1 or something like that breaks out again, and then we start trying to do something about it, we could all be dead.
Right.
I would hate to die over something like that.
Well, thank you for your ears, and
Thank you very
and
much.
we'd be happy to come out and talk. We do continuity of operations trainings and other things, and if you want to become part of
Pick
the
a
work
card,
that
any
we're
card,
doing,
right?
that's
Do you go out to the senior centers and talk about the preventative and things like that?
with
Yeah, we
services.
do,
a lot of the work that we do is going out and doing presentations, increasing awareness, so that health promotion piece. Sometimes we go out and ask to do presentations, and often we're asked to do presentations. So any of the areas that we work on, please let us know if you want presentations in any of your venues. For anyone in Tilton, we'd be happy to do that for you.
And we left our cards, all of us, and so we look forward to working more closely with the town of City.
Yeah, well, nice to meet you.
Town of Tilton. Yeah, all right.
Great, well, thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
You have a great chief, too.
Oh, we know. We'll keep him for a while, too.
Love working with him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a dedicated bid.
Next page, it said.
Yeah, buddy.
So is
All right. What's next on our show? There she comes.
You didn't get this one.
Save the day.
The Joyce Fullwiler Show.
next, 5:30.
You didn't get that one. Just gave you one.
I saw it was next.
Thank you very much.
I think we're going to...
Partnership
Are
for
you
Public
here to
Health.
speak
Here
to
we
us?
are again.
Did you want to talk to us?
Yeah, well, the chief said he was going to bring up the 17 hours.
Right, that's not going to be until a non-public. You want to come back?
I'm retired.
You want us to text you, or you what?
I'm not in a hurry, I'm retired.
Semi-retired.
Semi-retired.
So,
Okay. If you're willing
just
to,
going.
if you want to wait, or we can text
here
you.
past 10 o'clock at night.
No.
I'm good.
All right.
All right.
Okay, yeah, leave them there, that's good. Can I just ask a procedural question? All right, so I'm doing advertising for
Oh, no, absolutely.
Cover your
for
back.
the
Really, that's a
spikes.
It said just in case, right?
On the pond.
I actually met the ladies, not the one,
So it's just something we
the
would put on
CERT
the
lady,
agenda?
but the
Right.
other two at
Public input, we'll
the
put it
train
on the
station
website.
down here and
Public
a drug
input,
and
and we'll
alcohol
allow,
presentation
we'll talk
in
to,
our area. The
the
numbers
store,
were
Fast Cash,
tremendous.
and TLC, that are
We
the
have a
people that we know
serious
that
public health
interested
problem with
in
that.
doing something like that they would want to have public input.
I know, you're right.
Okay,
So I would reach out to
I'm-
them as well.
okay.
Walking around proof, oh yeah.
Right,
Because I was going to say, there really wouldn't be too much time to do that.
right,
Right, that's all I want to know.
right.
Let me know when you're ready for me.
I'm ready, we're done.
Al went up the staircase, so I assume he's got business to attend to in the back room.
Must be checking the heat.
Yes, check.
Could well be. Checking for drafts.
Yes.
Make sure that door's closed to the upstairs.
That's right, buddy. We can do better. Where's our sign?
Catherine, you didn't happen to bring that Rod Pearl estimate, did you?
Did I give you back your folder? Or is it still sitting over there?
No, and
I'm meeting
don't you take that home.
I'm meeting Monday morning with Brian.
Okay, because I've got,
It's a holiday, but that's.
okay, because I got Brian's estimate, but now it seems that the scope has changed, so I'm glad you're meeting with, oh, a different Brian? And also, I got Hayes's. But it appears that the scope has changed
On which project is this?
on the stage.
Oh,
That's why I needed the Rod Pearl one. Now, I don't have to talk about that this week. I can put this off till next week since Catherine's still talking with folks.
Oh, you don't want to talk about it, okay.
Okay, but I'll hand out Brian's, but, can you call Brian? Because what I had spoken to him about was the Pearl. And,
Well, that's still kind of the, structurally, I had a look. It just,
that's for Al and Joe. And Catherine, I've got your copy. They're not going to talk about this tonight. And then a couple weeks ago, what was the date on this? December 30th, I gave everyone the life safety requirements. I'm pretty sure I emailed it,
Yes, you
so I
did.
don't need to make copies of that. And this is the one from Mr. Hayes. And you're going to see Brian, the other Brian, and then would you mind calling
No.
this Brian, Brian? Because he really wants to do it, and,
I'll talk to him.
okay,
Talk to me. If he wants to come back, it's fine.
okay. And his number, I believe, is on his,
Is this the fellow that came yesterday?
yes.
The one that we were talking to up on the stage, Ken? The second one?
So we'll have 4 estimates that we'll be able to get an idea.
So far, these are only 2.
Now, I'm curious,
And the Broad Pearl one,
this one, 23 grand?
right
Yeah.
here.
Where?
Is
That
the
one's
first one,
Right, and I called him and asked him to come update it. So until he gets back to me, did you try calling him at all?
No, I can't. You're going to get, Rod's probably in Florida.
Yeah, and this also includes
What voice is
the glass counter for the,
It's on a separate estimate, isn't it?
yeah, that's that one. But I would like to keep that included in this year's.
so this is the
I have to find it.
oranges to oranges? Because one guy is significantly lower than the other.
Well, this one's going to have to be updated
Yes.
because
These are just budgetary estimates,
Yeah.
they're not the RFP,
It's for the board to
and that would be
decide.
apples to
Yeah,
apples. to
yeah.
apples.
Okay, I get it. I get it. Although I don't see as we've actually gleaned anything from these two.
oh, there's like a
Which
couple
is
of
it,
them.
23,000 or 88?
You've got a couple of them in that. Maybe I jumbled them up. The glass, so you want the glass counter one
Yeah.
too.
So that's where, would that be where you would be going? Up in here? Because it's calling it a health office.
Well, we can talk about that later on.
Windows,
I don't see it.
don't have the windows.
One thing I don't see on either one of these, right now, how are you going to keep that area warm and cool in the summer?
We do that ourselves. We're not gonna contract that out.
Oh, okay.
Hire the team to do that. So this has my notes on it, if that's okay.
Yep.
Because I know that's why we have this, our beautiful plastic
you
wall,
call
is to
Rome?
keep us warm in the winter.
Not yet.
It's cold.
It's on my list.
The shower curtain.
I was gonna bring shower caps for everybody tonight, but
Yeah.
I forgot.
Is everybody want a copy of this estimate, even though it's gonna be
I
updated?
just like the bottom line price for now, because I just wouldn't mind just looking at it. I don't want a copy, because it's just a budgetary thing.
I'm good.
But I need it for my file.
I'm making your copy.
Okay, thank you. I'm almost to the bottom.
I put 2 or 3 of them in there when I looked through there.
Mike's got it. I'm down into 2011 now.
I'm helping you out, Joe.
Eat it up.
Well, I've got a copy of all of them, because I just dug out.
All right, I just went through everything. And what was on top was
What's
the
the
town
bottom
clerk's door.
Right.
Was town clerk's door to gutters.
That.
Okay, 15.
The other day. Well, that, and the 5 pounds of candy I ate.
All right.
So I just did that as a preface too, because we were working on warrant articles. Yep. Oh, you have that down under old business.
Yeah, I put it there so that we would be remembered to put it there, and I knew that some of the stuff you would have on your agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
So here's one, you just said you wanted one to pass around?
You want to see this? Are these suggested warrant articles?
I took the list that we talked about last week.
Yep.
And just put them in a proper format.
This is a copy of mine.
This is a copy of yours, okay.
It's, like I said, I could have sworn I saw a couple in there. Well, I just didn't see anything else I needed to have, so I just... Here's mine.
Yeah, that's good, thank you. I'm happy with this. Okay.
She's got my scribbling on it.
Okay.
I think Joe wants to see that.
That's a year old.
Yes. That's the one that we used last year. So anyway, so back to the warrant. There's no zoning ordinances. We're still, I didn't get any clarification on whether or not we're going to be updating the litter ordinance. I do know we need to do the hawkers and peddlers to add the background check, so I didn't know if we were going to adopt our own and rescind the town meeting one.
Yeah.
Because we got that from Dan Crean. So we don't have to decide those right now, but I just put those as two placeholders. I removed the one about the police special detail revolving fund. We're just going to leave that alone. Okay. And then I started doing some research on warrant article number 4. I spoke with DRA. I spoke with Paul Sanderson, and he welcomes your call, Catherine. Okay. And I also put in a query to Dave Scanlon, but he won't be back in town until tomorrow. Okay. So I haven't heard back from him. But that's the basic number 4 is just the basic premise.
Okay.
But when I spoke to Paul Sanderson, these were the two on the attachments. I didn't even get this one.
Thank you.
He said that the only requirement for the elected position is, the only qualification is that you have to be older than 18 and you have to be a resident of the town in which you're running for office.
You don't have to have any knowledge whatsoever about
qualifications
being a tax collector or town clerk.
So why couldn't we have a separate warrant article that just basically, sets a wage that the legislative body votes on? Not the selectmen, because that would go against the RSA. It's not the selectmen that determines a wage.
Right, and that's, they point out 31.9B.
So, and I don't think the legislative body can subrogate their authority to the governing body.
Right.
They can tell us what to do, but they can't say, here, take our authority. And do what you
According
want
to
with
this right here, if we had an elected official that was making $40,000 and was up for re-election, and somebody else won, that other person that was appointed would be getting that $40,000.
No, that's not what it says. It says that a vote of the municipality shall determine the monies due that elected official for services.
So what would it be raised on the floor if you had a new one, then made a vote of the legislative body that was there on what the starting salary would be based on the fact that the individual is new to the position
I
and
think
has no
you'd have to come up with a wage.
Yeah.
And like the question I have is, the problem is, somebody decides to run.
Right.
They retired, town clerk from East Hoboken.
Right.
Been there for 20 years, 25 years. Didn't think they wanted to continue, missed the job, decided they'd like to get back into it. Cindy retires, moves back to New York, gets married, has 6 kids, whatever. So now we have a town clerk that has even more experience than this town clerk. Do we look at it as an employee? Do we look at it, how can we say to the legislative body, look, you've got this person with 20 years experience, what do you want to pay her?
Right.
Or do we sit down and try to figure it out?
It says here that we
Because
can't.
we have to figure it out and then present it in a warrant article. How do you do that? I don't know.
Should we base it on the time
So do we
Cindy's
just-
been here, or do we base it on
Right.
a not factual, but
So I guess we have to interview the people that are running.
Well, I mean, you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
seriously.
I mean, we have a town
You've got to have some
clerk
knowledge.
that, I mean, I'm not familiar with other town clerks except when I have to go to other towns and use their services, but she keeps herself so up to date with law changes, and she's constantly educating herself, knows her job frontwards, backwards, sidewards. So I'd like to think that maybe the wage she's getting paid would be a wage for anybody coming in, no matter what their, you know, as long as they've got the experience she does, or more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they come in at, you
Her
know,
level or higher.
some experience,
Yeah.
they've been a town clerk, no matter how many years, maybe that's
Yeah.
the starting wage for them. And then it comes up next year. They can bring it up next year. But if we have, I'm more worried about the person that comes in, has absolutely no experience, because you don't need any.
Right,
then you need a
know,
low starting
I've been
point to
working
a
at
high one.
wherever as a greeter,
yeah.
and I decide I don't like that, I want to be a town clerk. They get elected by some weird
Yep.
miracle. I don't think they should be paid what a person who's got
10 years
knowledge
experience,
should be
right?
paid.
Yeah, well, isn't in our budget there a line item that says that how much that person gets paid?
Not an elected official, though. It's
The
voted
town
on by
clerk
the
tax collector
legislature.
position.
That's because it's been she was elected.
Right.
And each year, she presents a wage to the body to be voted on.
be
for
voted
her
on.
wage.
It's a line item in the budget, right?
We don't set that, she sets it.
So now we have this possibility that
She
person...
puts it forward, and then the
And then the-
budget committee and the selectmen
No.
either vote to move the whole budget along or not.
No.
No.
No, we
The
don't.
legislative body votes on her portion of the wage.
Of course they do. They vote on all of it.
Whether we put it forward or not, it doesn't matter. We don't put her wage forward.
No, I understand. I
If she wanted to
understand
put
all that.
5% in and we didn't agree, we don't put down not recommended.
Yes, we could.
No, we don't.
Yes, we
It's
could.
voted on by
Yes,
the,
we could.
We could not recommend.
The vote is from the legislative body. They're the determining ones. The budget committee could look at that wage for the town clerk and say, I don't agree, and the budget committee could put in $10.
the budget committee could.
And so can the selectmen in their budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to the legislative body, who has the final say. They tell us what to pay.
Yes, they do.
So my problem is the person, like I said, well,
So-
I don't know how to
Wait a
word
minute, Sandy
that.
has something, it's
Yeah.
before you, Joe. Wait a minute.
I just wanted to ask, do you remember when Gail decided to retire? And Cindy had been working as her deputy, and then she ran for the position because now Gail had been here some 20-some-odd years. Now, obviously, something must have happened to the pay. Cindy didn't start to come in at the same pay that Gail was making when she left, did she?
The problem is back then, they treated the position as an employee position. It's kind of why we've been in kind of a fix with that position. We only kind of got it straightened out the past 3 or 4 years. I really think that this lady over here helped us get that straightened out.
Yeah.
It was always treated as an employee position. It was not treated as an elected official position. It was not. I mean, I'm the one that said, you know, this wage is voted on by the legislative body,
So what, did
not
you
the
just put it in
selectmen.
as a
And then it got
lower wage?
corrected.
They
It
put
really
it in
got
as a wage.
corrected when we changed it to a combined position. That's when it got corrected. And then we
Well-
made the mistake when we messed up the line things, but that we did without thinking.
So when she ran as town clerk, then you just reduced what that
No,
thing
when
was going to be?
when she ran as town clerk, they just paid her wage, they put it in the budget, and then
When
she
that
got a
was-
raise. She was treated as an employee. She got a merit raise, she got a
Oh, so,
She
but
got a
what
cost
Gail
of living
made,
raise.
but what Gail made was not what she started out at.
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Joe,
Okay, so, to follow through with my original thought, I was trying to ascertain, there's a line in the budget.
Yep.
If we were to get, during the first part of the town meeting, an elected official who was not our current town clerk tax collector and had absolutely no experience whatsoever, couldn't we on the floor amend that
Yep,
line item?
We could.
Ta-da!
that's the other way of doing it, yeah.
Ta-da! All we gotta do is decide how much we would propose to fund that line.
The problem with that is that those people running that choose to run would not realize that they're going to think they're running for the current rate.
Well, that's why I would.
Potentially, yeah, I could see where that could happen. I could see where that could happen.
Well, it's definitely going to happen.
Well,
Unless you have a warrant article published warning them that, listen, if you run for this position, you're not necessarily going to get this amount of money. Because if you remember, the legislative body votes on it all.
interesting one.
Right.
Put it out as a warrant article, you know.
I didn't see it.
We'd have to do it on the floor of the town meeting.
Yes.
We'd have to.
Town meeting.
Change that budget, that line item.
Well, I think it should be, I think to be fair for those who might choose to run, there should be a published warrant article that warns them that you're not necessarily going to get the prevailing wage.
Well, did you look at Article 4?
Yeah.
You could get $1 when you're
See
done.
if the town will vote to
think that
grant
follows
authority to the Board of
I guess in
Selectmen
theory.
to establish the wages for the elected town clerk tax
What did
collector.
Paul Sanderson say about that? That subrogates the authority of the legislative body to the governing body, and that's a violation of law.
He didn't say anything about that. What he said is you have to go by whatever is voted in the budget. That's why I put this one first. Whatever amount is voted in the budget by the town meeting, by law, 319-B, you have to pay that money over.
Yes, but following Joe's
Someone can amend the
That line.
floor.
we have,
That line.
I just want the people who might, I just think to be fair, I'm repeating myself, but again, those who may choose to run need to know there's a possibility that they're not going to get the wages being paid out now.
Because someone from the floor will get up, or the selectman will get up and say, I want to amend the line
To do
item.
that is to have a warrant article.
Right.
Because you could have a warrant article setting the wage for a newly elected town clerk tax collector at blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but based on what?
Well, that's
when
what
you
Paul
get to
said.
town-
There's no qualifications. They meet the qualifications of the job.
That's why I would just say newly elected.
Yeah.
All right, then if
So
you're
you
going to...
get to town meeting, you can vote to table that warrant article. Or, no, not table it, but
So were you going to be putting a dollar amount in? Because then DRA would have to look at that.
I think so.
Because anything with an appropriation, they look at.
I think you'd have to.
So you're going to have a warrant article that says $45,000, and you have a posted recommended budget committee's budget for a different amount of money. So that, say that passes.
I don't think you can have legislative bodies subrogate their voting authority to the selectmen. The RSA is specific. They get to choose.
So how would
Doesn't say, or
how
you-
would you do the warrant article then? To see if the town will vote to set a wage of X?
To a newly elected town clerk tax collector.
This is a slippery slope, kids.
Yes.
The fact is that, let's just say our current deputy, I'm not proposing this as a scenario, but we're talking what ifs. Our current deputy decided to run and won the election. She doesn't have the experience or the background in this that our current town clerk does, but she's pretty sharp and she does have some experience. How do we, in advance, decide what the dollar amount should be in that warrant article? And then what if I run too?
Well, quite frankly, it's interesting you'd say that. What I would propose as a starting wage is the gross wage that we're paying out the deputy.
Makes sense.
Well, that's interesting that our deputy is worth as much as a town clerk.
Excuse me.
No, definitely.
Anybody that
The
is the
deputy
town
town
clerk
clerk.
tax collector would know that you can go to town meeting and change it. I don't know. I mean, we don't have to do this. I'm just saying. I really don't like to be deceiving, and I think it's deceiving to have somebody run, like I said, that's a greeter in a store someplace with absolutely no experience, for some miracle they get elected. You're really going to pay them what you've been paying somebody who's been working here for what?
10 years.
11, 12
More than
years?
10 even.
No,
No, more than
and
that, 15 years?
I applaud the prudent fiscal,
Legislative body.
The other thing
You'd have to
would be-
rely on the legislative body at that point, and then
Yeah.
amend it at the time. And I think that's the way to go. I mean, you can't, I don't particularly care for Article 4, because
I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell
You're
you.
asking
Right,
to
but
take
that's
away
what-
the legislative
but- right,
bodies.
right, but based on your
I don't think
you're
meeting, that's what you
disenfranchising
wanted to
everybody.
do.
Right.
Ultimately, that's what we would like, they would, based on who gets what, with the amount of experience that they have, the job should be, the pay should be related to experience.
Right.
However, we can't judge that based on an election. There's
Right.
no way to judge that.
After
Unless
Tuesday, we
introdu-
could judge.
Unless we
But it's no different than
interview
a
the people
selectman.
that sign up for it.
That's true.
It's no different than a select.
Yeah, but you know,
Selectmen are not-
$50,000 is a heck of a difference between $3,000.
Right now, the legislature's allows selectmen to appoint, the town meeting has to vote to do that, to say, yes, the selectmen can appoint a treasurer. And there is legislation this session, according to Bob Sanderson, to have the vote of the town to say, we want to have an appointed town clerk.
That's not gonna
Again.
pass.
I know, comes around, what, every
I know,
7
I
years,
don't
5, 7 years?
Every 5, 7 years, because it
But
came before us
so,
before.
You know, to get
When
back
I were
on the
here.
topic, I don't know how to do it. I just don't want to disenfranchise
Well,
somebody.
what are you, basically what you're warning is that if it's a newly elected, then you have to define newly elected. That's why I was
No.
using the word.
I mean, I know we don't want to, like, spending money, but one person I can think of that would be an excellent person to talk
Which is
to
a
about
DC?
this. No, it would be Dan Crean.
Yeah,
Said
DC.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
and
he
Dave
does,
Scanlon, too, we could talk with him, he's supposed to get back to me.
but he does have,
But he's going to,
Dave Scanlon?
yes, he's going to say, I'm sure, but I could be wrong, the same thing that Paul said, is that the town meeting sets the thing. So
That's
if you
true.
want to change the rate at town meeting, make your case.
But you can do, in a warrant article, you would be doing that. You'd be asking the legislative body to set the rate.
No.
Not by this one, but
No,
by...
I would stand up and
You know, if
vote to
somebody said-
amend a line on the budget.
If somebody, if you think this through, the legislative body, I mean, you're actually, if someone comes in with absolutely no experience whatsoever, doing the job of somebody that's leaving that had 15 years' experience, and you make a motion to amend the line item for wages for a town clerk tax collector to accommodate, a brand-new person, you have to look at it from the legislative body's perspective. You're lowering the budget, and you're not paying somebody 15 years' experience pay for zero. So, for me, sitting in the legislative body, I wouldn't think twice about voting for that because the person doesn't have the experience.
but what if that person turns out to be a crackerjack quick learner?
Then you would vote on the experience. Then we wouldn't be sitting here saying,
I'm gonna
we need
tell
to
you
amend the budget.
I'm going to tell you what, I've been her assistant.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't her deputy, I was her assistant. I got to tell you, darn, there is so much.
There's a lot.
There's a lot
You
to
have
learn.
to know, because it's a combined position, just in motor vehicle.
Yeah.
And you have to take courses, you have to pass those courses.
Yeah.
And then the whole election part of it. You can be Cracker Jack, but I'm going to tell you what, for at least a year, somebody comes in here with no experience for at least a year, it's going to be a nightmare, because we're going to have some real unhappy residents.
Well, you have to look at
depend
it
on your
from
deputy.
you have to look at it from a deputy's perspective.
Then
It's
we better
taken,
raise the deputy's wage.
but look at it from her perspective. It's taken her, at least, she's been here, 3 years? And I can say a solid 2 years to start to grasp what all is undertaken in that department. So, do you think somebody brand new off the street is just going to go in and say, okay, come on, deputy, let's go to work? they're not going to do that.
No.
They're going to be
The
totally
deputy's gonna
swamped.
carry the ball until the new
Right,
person
but the the
learns.
selectmen can alter the deputy's wage in that instance. My concern is I don't think the taxpayers should pay somebody with absolutely no experience that might by some miracle win and be so hindered by their lack of experience.
But how do you gauge what is a correct wage and how much experience?
You know what I would suggest is that we find out what the average wage is
Right.
for an entry-level town clerk / tax collector.
Right, I think
We'll
that
call
we
it
need to look
40
at the wage and
grand.
salary. I think that we need to be prepared going into town meeting, and I think that we need to, we'll know better on the sign-up sheet as far as the, who's going to run, and this all may be mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no sense making a thing before
never
it's a
know.
thing.
Then we can eliminate the warrant article.
So,
Right.
for now, do you want to leave something in to see if the town will vote to
This
establish a wage of
language, I
X?
wouldn't leave in, because you're going to
you
get some
can't do
very
that.
angry people.
We can't do that. We just can't.
So I would put in just as, I would just, Article 4, we'll just amend it on the town floor.
I was going to say, Jane just recommended that maybe if you amend it on the floor, that you give a range.
There's no warning to the person that's
Yeah.
going to be running for
But we've got to get, hopefully, the individuals that might choose to run are watching this, but we could put it on the website that, I don't know. It's hard. How do you get the word out? Warrant article's not going to be any better than putting it on the website. Depends on
Let me
qualifications,
ask you this, does the
experience.
warrant articles have to be in before the closing of the registrations
No, our
for,
deadline to post it is what?
Last day to
10
post
days
notice.
before
No,
town
the
meeting?
last day for the budget committee to give us the budget.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of
Committee
posting.
to
the
deliver
budget.
budget warrant articles is the 19th of
February
February.
19th, and...
So we have
and,
time.
Yeah,
We-
sign-up is done...
we'll have time to think
31st.
about this. Let's move on to something else, because we don't,
Yeah, we don't have to warn them. We can do it on town meeting.
But the other thing is, just, it would give us more time to think about it.
I think you're right on target on that one, Catherine.
just
I
to be
think we're
fair.
all ready with,
Anybody who signs up, we could inform
right.
Yeah.
that it depends on qualifications. Depends on
If you think you're going to run for
qualifications.
the wage, isn't that kind of a form of threat? That- I mean, we can't do that, Joe.
Well, then we can't warn them. So we can't warn them. Well, there you go, Catherine.
And you can do it in the form of a warrant.
If you run, we're going to change your wage.
Well, if there's anything we come away from tonight, it's RSA 319B. That's what Paul burned into my...
Town
Okay.
meeting chooses.
And if we do have a dollar amount in there, then you have to have a recommended, not recommended.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do that dollar amount or that warrant article, because it has to go before the budget committee, and we do have deadlines for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. The next one is the one for office space and meeting room. This is what we had in last year, but we took it out at the last minute. So that's where we would put whatever we decide on the amount, and when you decide on exactly what work you want to have done up there. And then I just plugged in the same amounts from last year on the capital reserve funds. And that was all I had from my original list. And the work on the front door, Catherine, we can do within our existing
I think so.
appropriation.
I do too.
The Island Park, if we're going to present that at town meeting, we really need to go down and have a conversation with DES before we get there, because
Yeah.
With whom?
Department of
DES.
Environmental Services, because if we don't have a plan in place, there's no reason to raise the money. If we really don't intend to go forward, Northfield obviously isn't. And
Well, the current select board over there isn't, but
and we
that could
haven't
change.
we haven't really gone anywhere with purchasing the island.
No, we have to go sit with Joy Tilton and go over with her and talk to the Northfield Selectmen.
Right.
Because she really wasn't in favor of that. There are some people in Northfield that want to keep ownership of it.
Oh, yes, there are some. that want to keep, and her and her husband and the family, their wishes were that the two towns come together with this.
Yep.
That's why they did it.
How does the conservation feel over there?
The
How much if we put-
Northfield Conservation Commission, they think that most people in Northfield don't even know they own it.
If,
By now?
That's sad, isn't
Why
it?
don't we do a petition warrant article for the Northfield annual meeting? Although theirs is, it's on the same day as ours, so that would be difficult. But we need somebody in Northfield to present it.
if we have $15,000 voted into that fund this year, what will the sum be, how much will we have in there?
45.
altogether?
45.
You know,
This will be our third year.
And how much money does it take to get this started, this
That would be
engineering?
enough to have the engineer, I think. Probably pretty
Well,
close to the
the
estimate.
original warrant article that we had to pay an engineer was for $30,000, with each town paying half. So with the money that you have for 12 and 13, that's $30,000, you could hire an engineer.
So at this point, we don't even need to fit another
Well, that would-
15,000 to
30,000 I think would
move
be
forward with a plan, right?
The 30,000 was a dark figure.
We still have to contact them, though.
And that was a couple of years ago.
And you'd have to have, well, no, we could get an engineer on our own. We'd ask them if they want to pay half. They didn't say, well, we're going to get one, so we're going to pay their half. But I think the thing to do is to get, we better do that right away.
All right, so I'll contact Joy.
Yeah.
They meet on Tuesday nights, and some of us will have to go over there and talk with
Let's
them.
go. Is she on the Conservation Commission at all?
Joy Tilton?
Yeah.
No. She's just, I think she's the state rep now.
Yeah, she is.
She is.
But I think as long as we make it known to her, it is not our intent to restrict the park from anyone. It will continue to be used the way it is now. You know, that we just want to be able to fix it, and we don't have any mutual feelings from the other side that they want to do that too. I mean, I guess they're more than willing to let us fix
Yeah, they
it.
didn't even want to put Christmas lights up.
Right.
That's not true. They didn't want to pay, they didn't feel that they had the funds to be decorating the island. Okey dokey. But nobody over there said, bah humbug, there shouldn't be any Christmas lights. We don't have the money to participate.
Yes, they did.
That
Yes, they
was
did.
what I got out of it.
No.
That's not what the letter said.
That's not what the letter said.
That's what I got out of it. Bah humbug, don't you dare?
Correct.
No. We put them up. They said it was okay to
I
put them
think
up.
I still have the letter.
Yeah.
Well, no, but then they fussed at us after we put the lights up.
Yeah,
So
they
we'll-
wanted them in a different location.
So you want me to call Joy and get on the
What is
selectmen's?
the Recreational Facilities Capital Reserve Fund? Is that for the park commission?
That's what DRA calls it.
Yep.
That's supposed to be the name we gave it. Although we did have one name wrong.
That's for the Park Commission, isn't it? Yeah.
They didn't ask for it, but that's okay.
Well, I
do
thought
want
they had
to-
it on the bottom of their budget.
We didn't, well, we do want to upgrade we've had a lot of families ask us to upgrade the playground equipment in Riverfront Park. It's very antique, we're told.
Classic.
One of the other things, and I meant to bring my budget with me, did we ever decide if we're going to gross appropriate so that we can show the revenue on the reval?
Which budget do you need?
Or on the revaluation? Because if you want to recognize the money that you're withdrawing from capital reserve, you can't, the only way you can do that is to gross appropriate and show the withdrawal as revenue. Right now, I think we just have the net budget. And I think it would be,
Are you talking in terms of
so we would need a warrant article.
the loader?
No, this is on the reval.
Oh, on the reval.
No, we're netting it. Okay. All right, so we don't need a warrant article. to withdraw and expend, so this
Yeah.
would be replenishing.
Okay.
Still on warrant articles.
Yes.
Yep. But can you think of anything else we want to put on there? Now, did Dennis talk to you at all yet about, we don't need a warrant article, because we have money in the capital reserve bridge fund, highway bridge fund, about Northfield wants to do some rehabilitation work to the Cannon Street Bridge?
Mm-hmm.
Did he spoke with you about that?
We did talk about that quite a while
Don't we
ago.
have to have a warrant article to take it out?
No, because you're agents to expend.
We did make ourselves agents to that fund?
Yep.
Yep.
That's the everything fund, right? Road, sidewalks, bridges fund?
Yep.
Yep.
And probably, it would help if the Northfield Selectmen and the Tilton Selectmen talked about doing that project.
Reconstruction and/or repair.
Got to do something. Every
That's-
spring, part of the road falls out over there, and they just fill it back in. It's obviously not a solution to that whole thing.
No, it's not a complete rehab.
Yeah.
No, but
Most of the
something
sidewalk,
that'll
wasn't
help maintain the health
It's
of
to
the bridge,
tear up
right?
the whole bridge deck,
Yeah, the deck.
and then see how bad it is underneath, and if it isn't too bad, then put a new bridge deck down,
Right.
and also the expansion joints.
And how much did he estimate that was gonna cost?
I think each town had to kick in 80,000.
Did they get estimates for this?
Dennis got estimates,
But
And
they
he's-
didn't create an RFP, formal estimate.
just for a budget estimate.
But I'd like the stage area.
I think right now is what the Northfield Selectmen are looking for is Tilton committed to doing this next year. So if that's the case, then you guys need to talk about who's doing an RFP, who's doing the bidding.
Do it right away.
Is there any water or sewer that runs under that bridge?
Yes. From looking underneath, we all went and looked underneath quite some time ago because we had the bridge reports. You couldn't see anything bad from underneath, but once you pull up the deck, you won't know until you pull it up.
And the reason they didn't want to go through the bridge program was because
It was just
time.
too far out.
Yeah, too far out.
And that something needs to be done before they would ever get to it. And so what this would basically do would just be buy another 10 years,
That's poor planning on our,
buy some more time.
that's poor planning on our part.
Yeah. But I agree, if we're going to commit to doing this, then we really need to sit down with Northfield and make sure both sides are serious about doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that one doesn't end up holding the bag.
Right. Because they're in their budget process, and so they're putting their money up.
Yep.
But Dennis is privy to the details, because number one, he was working with the Northfield Highway Superintendent on this, plus he's also on the Northfield Capital Improvements Committee, and I think he's also on the Budget Committee.
I thought he was.
Yeah, so he's wearing 3 hats.
One
But
of them
either way-
says Tilton on it.
And, well, 4 hats then. One says Tilton.
Okay.
All right, so that, I don't know if you'd want to do that through a warrant article.
Well, I
But-
would think we'd have to.
Well, you've got, on the bottom, we're raising, appropriating 65,000 to be added to that. Is that 65,000 considering that we're going to take 80,000 out of it?
I don't believe so. That's, remember he was talking about, he was gonna do
His road plan.
Right.
yeah, his road plan and the sidewalks.
If we, in the same breath, if we're using that reserve fund for those monies,
Yeah, but there's quite a bit in there.
that's what I mean. Did he, when he,
He was thinking of withdrawing it from capital reserves.
Right, so-
Leaving this alone, keep putting money in to
Right.
replenish.
right, and so I would suspect that he may alter his 10-year plan on roads.
He's coming in next week to go
Yes.
through on your project?
He's gonna
Okay,
take his
So we
plans
can
on doing it
ask him.
okay.
For 2014, but
Yeah.
if he isn't adding to his money reserves,
Right.
then he either had a surplus,
Yeah.
or he's going to try to make it up over the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep, so we should talk with Dennis
Yeah.
next week
And bring this
Before-
up too, you know.
before we
Okay.
go talk with Northfield.
Yeah.
All right.
How much time
Those
before we're gonna
bridge
have?
engineers are expensive.
According to this, last day budget committee to deliver budget and warrant article recommendations is February 19th.
Right, but if it involves money, the last date would be the Budget Committee, which
Yeah.
is February 12th, I believe.
Yeah.
No, 14, one budget hearing,
And 90% of them, how many?
that would be 14.
Well, last year, we had 5 drafts. This is pretty good. This year, we just have 1 so far. So that's good. All right, can I move on? Can I move on?
If we go down to the lake improvement warrant article,
That's Milfoil, yeah.
okay, lake improvement. We keep putting money into that lake improvement, but
Is it being used?
that's
Yes.
going to be my question.
Yes.
The level of use, and because I live on one of those lakes, I'm not really seeing where my tax money's going. I know they've got the boat thing, and they're gonna start with other deals, but I was just wondering what the state of the program was, so that people are gonna ask me, I could say, oh yeah, they've done this, or they're gonna do that.
Have a program.
No, there's at least on the one lake, Silver Lake, they have the Silver Lake Association, which has been the conduit for the efforts on that particular lake. There's also Lake Winnisquam, but I don't know if there is a conduit or who that would be.
Jay's Marina has used it twice. They worked with Jody Connor, who was the limologist in Concord, and created a plan to eliminate.
Ingress and the egress of the Silver Lake is choked with these invasive plants.
You know how we got it out of our pond? The ducks brought it in,
Yeah.
but we went out there, it took us probably close to a week pulling it from the roof.
Well, they have hand pickers. But the problem with Silver Lake is, we may do something in, say, Tilton, and the cove at that marina was identified as congested with it. That's why DES picked it as a site. They actually did some test things there. The Belmont side, over where those railroad tracks is a little cove.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
It is.
So unless Belmont does something, Meredith does something, and all the communities around the lake do something, sometimes our efforts are meaningless, but the Conservation Commission just approved monies to, and I think it was the Silver Lake. I was reading their minutes, for them to go forward and do some milfoil eradication in Silver Lake. Silver Lake gets everything from the lakes above. Saki, Pagas, Opeechee, Winnisquam, it all comes down to us.
True enough, if we don't do anything ever, we'll lose it as a resource. I know the fish population as a fisherman has decreased.
It'll devalue those properties.
Yeah, well, it devalues the lake as a resource for all of us, not just me, but anybody who goes fishing or boating or kayaking or whatever over there. It's a lovely, lovely spot, and a great resource for Tilton and for Belmont. So I just was wondering, maybe I'll get in touch with the Silver Lake Association and see what they've been doing, what they're going to be doing. I know they've been gearing up, and hopefully they'll be doing something. We'll see.
Yeah, you might suggest to them to come to town meeting
And make a
have
presentation.
They could put something up.
Yep,
You could just make a little thing that people could look at, to let them know that there is an activity going on.
Sure.
I think times are getting tough.
But is it just Silver Lake Association? I mean, there, any other group?
Anyone could,
Could
but
do
they're
it.
the ones on Silver Lake that are actively.
that I know of anyway.
Okay.
And that's not just Tilton, is it?
Oh, no, it's Tilton and Belmont.
That's the whole lake.
The Silver Lake Association is made up of homeowners from around the lake. So there's two sides when
They did
Belmont.
submit a letter
here.
this year, didn't they?
Yes, and I'm pretty sure I saw in the Conservation Commission minutes that they awarded them.
They did, but I mean, didn't they submit a letter to the Budget Committee for funding this year?
Yes, and we told them it needed to go to the
Conservation Commission, okay.
because they were the agents.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So anything else on the warrant for right now? Okay, yesterday was the deadline for the response to our CDBG contract consultant, CDBG grant administrative consultant for the Gaslight Village feasibility study. And I mailed it out to 10 of the consultants that are on the CDBG list. They have to be pre-qualified. And I only received one response, and that was Donna Lane. The town has worked with her in the past on the co-op, and she was the one that put together the feasibility study grant application. So I would ask that the board
No, she seemed excellent.
make a motion to hire her.
Catherine, would you like to see this?
No, I know her.
Yeah, she's excellent, I think.
It's great. I'd be upset if she didn't.
Yeah, so Joyce needs a motion.
So I'd make a motion to contract with Donna Kerwin Lane of Donna Kerwin Lane in order to accept her administrative proposal for the Gaslight Village Cooperative CDBG Planning Study Project.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Nate? Yes.
Okay, and this is just a procedural thing, because I want to get some cleared up for Jill and
Papers flying in all directions here.
this is Donna's, yes, thank you. Don't want to use that. I just want to make sure that the form that is on the town website and the form that all the offices are distributing to people who are interested in serving on any of our volunteer boards and committees, that this is the form.
Okay.
This is the one that's on the website now.
Is this the one the selectmen voted on?
This is the one that Cindy put on.
Where's the one the selectmen voted on?
It's this, with the exception of she added
The box.
the box.
Yeah, the box.
Essentially, it is the same.
Yes, and the changes that I made to it were,
I like the
added-
box.
Yep. On the instructions, I numbered the pages, so I say complete page 1 of the application.
Yep.
Then they're to send the completed application to the town clerk, and I included her email address. And then, once the Board of Selectmen receives the application, you'll be contacted for an interview. I just cleaned that up.
Yep.
And I put page numbers, and I put the date that the form was revised.
Okay.
So the procedure would be, I think it's important, since it's the selectmen that are accountable, need to be held accountable for making sure that anybody that has expressed interest, that we track that it comes to the selectmen deliberate on it, and then we get back to them, let them know the decision, and then they go to Cindy either to be sworn in. They have to be recorded by Cindy, but our board sometimes swears people in.
Yes.
So to make sure that it's recorded. And the other thing, we talked about this in the past, is making sure that the term dates
Yes.
are correct.
So why are the forms going to the town clerk first?
That's the way they, I don't know, that's just the way, that's what the board had already adopted.
They go there and then he brings them to us.
Right, but she has to bring them to the selectman's office.
Right.
We date stamp.
Catherine gets them and date stamps
Why don't they
them.
go directly to the selectmen's office?
Yeah.
She records, she
She
looks at,
doesn't record them until
no,
afterwards.
but she looks at the,
Make sure they're a resident.
make sure they're resident and, but also looks at the term that they're replacing.
No term before.
Right,
You
but see,
know the
that's, I
term
know, but it
before
doesn't,
the person applies,
doesn't come in that way.
but
Well,
it should.
Look
I
at,
think
look at
that-
chat, though, we have an application for a new member, and there's no, we added the member, there's no minimum amount of people
But
that
that's
can...
unusual.
Right.
Most of our boards have set amounts. So the chairman of those boards can get that information from the town clerk long before March,
Right.
which is when they expire,
Yeah.
Well,
to know
generally,
the term.
yeah, generally in the past, when they go
There's been a
to
cluster.
Cindy, well, Cindy takes them and she looks them up and she says what the term will be.
No, she
And-
doesn't.
No, she
No.
doesn't look at the term, she just looks at what's open.
What's open.
Right, what's open, not the
Right.
term. So, yeah, that's what you refer to
This
as
is,
term,
this is what
right.
we get. We know what the
Yeah.
vacancies are.
Right, what the vacancies are,
But
right.
she'll look at the vacancy, and then she
Right.
can put down here, yes, you need from this year to this year. She usually starts them the year that, like 2014 to, whatever it's going to be.
Right, but it's the Board of Selectmen's decision on
Right.
what term you're going to have these people
Right.
That's
fill,
correct.
not
So they
her.
should go to the selectman's office first.
Yeah, really, they should go, and then when we're all
They
done
should
with
go
it.
into the selectman's office.
Yeah.
And then
And
they
then-
have to go back to her anyway for swearing in,
We
right?
Well,
should
no, not
already have that.
Recording.
They don't have to be sworn in by the town
Right.
clerk. She
No, they
has to
don't. That's
record
correct.
them.
Right.
I was gonna
We
say,
should
I've done
already have that
I've
information.
done it too.
Yeah.
Right.
We have it right now. Well, the terms aren't up right now.
When I first see it, or when Catherine first sees it, is when it happens to be handed to one of you in passing.
But we have a couple
Or if we
openings
do
in
grab
planning
it-
board right now, and
Right.
people have put in for planning board. What happens then? When it goes to the town clerk, tax collector, what happens?
She's supposed to give it to the selectmen's
But does she
office.
do anything with it at all?
No.
Nothing? Then let's make it to the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen first. I don't...
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we have done on the planning board level. One of the young ladies that put in an application, she has attended the last 2 meetings, she's interacting with the board. She's not obviously making any decisions or anything because she's not a member yet. But the board is, I said to the board after she left, I said, it's up to you, to have Gus write a note to the selectmen saying that we have met this young lady, we've worked with her, and we would like to recommend that the board consider it, putting her in this position. Now, I know that Gus is calling the other one, the latest application that we got, and inviting her to the next meeting to meet the board, because I understand that the selectmen could call her in too, but in my mind, it would be helpful if we know that the planning board, all of them can get along, and, but so far, it's worked out very well, and it gives the board an idea. They, talk back and forth, discuss things.
Both of them have agreed to be full-time.
Yes. And we need both of them as full.
Because even someone who is not a full-time member
Has to
has
be
to
there.
attend the meetings. Otherwise, they don't have a clue.
Right. Well, this is what I explained. I don't
They both
think
know
that
this. and they
Zoning
both-
too.
the
All
zoning
the
board's
boards
the
and
same way.
committees, that's what
Right.
we require. So they
Yes.
both agreed to be full-time.
Yeah.
I've actually signed both of their applications.
Have you? Well, then I would, I have invited the one that's been coming, that I told her that, we would be talking about it this week, and I'll have all the stuff to our next meeting. I can swear her in before the meeting and get it,
One of them's already signed with a quorum.
yeah.
Both of these are. So
But I'll swear her in.
do you want to
I'll
change
sign them
it?
if I haven't signed them.
No, they're all set. I just need to put in the term.
Yeah.
No, this one hasn't been signed.
Yeah.
This one has not.
That's for the new one, right?
The other one has been signed by everyone?
By a majority. Pat needs to sign it, and Sandy needs to sign it.
And what is this, the names? One's Gabrielle or Gabriel? Oh, this is Julia, that's right. Julia Harvey.
Could you? So I made sure that Gus got copies of these applications, so she knew who had applied.
Yep.
And then we need to, so the board wants to appoint them. So what I'm suggesting that they both serve 2-year terms, so that their terms will expire in 2016.
How does that
Because you have
coincide?
two that are expiring 2014, you have 2 expiring in 2015, and 2 expiring in 2016,
Okay,
to keep the terms staggered.
okay, sounds good.
Now, the 2 that are, whose terms are up on the planning board, Eric Pyra and Jane Alden,
They're up when this year?
this year, 2014, so
Okay.
you would want to reappoint them.
Yes.
So will you speak with them and find out if they want to be reappointed?
Yes, I
They
will.
have to fill out a form.
Yes, they still have to fill out a form, but they don't
Right.
have to fill out all the bottom. This says, is this a reappointment to the same board or committee?
What I will do is I'll send them an email when I get home, and if they're interested in staying on the boards, then I will tell them to pick up I'll have, the form is on the internet, right? On our website?
Right, the one that's on the internet right now is this one with this oath form.
Okay.
Let's put this one on.
Yeah,
Yes,
just stick that one on, and I'll tell them to download,
yep,
fill it out, just the first part, and,
because the other one is the old form.
yeah.
Okay, all right, but do you still want to take out, send completed application? So fill out the application and give to the selectman.
Selectmen's office. And then
Or
your,
give to Gus, and she can give it to you. Either way.
it needs to say, it needs to go to the selectmen's
Yes.
office. It's gonna come from all different boards and committees.
Right,
Yeah.
So don't put that
all
in
right,
there.
so,
But
I'll
your
just take
proc-
this one to,
Your procedure,
Oh, Jane?
can you write down a procedure?
well, this is what I'm recommending, if you board agrees with
Well,
that
it's-
procedure, other than it's going to be,
More
we're going to change it,
defined.
right.
It needs to be presented to the selectmen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's gonna put in the term? I think that should come from the selectmen's office
selectman's office, and I'm more than happy to do that.
to do that.
Yep,
Okay, you've put in the term,
Mm-hmm.
and then where's it gonna go? To the Board of Selectmen?
I would put the term in after. The board would decide, because you may have two vacancies. You may say, well, we want this person to serve 1
Right,
year.
1 year and the other 2, right.
So-
That's
See
the
what I'm
piece we've been
saying? Can you
lacking.
write that
Yes,
outline
I can
down?
put that, this is what we have
So that
vacant.
all boards and committees, we can give that to them.
Yep.
It's a monkey plate. They don't have
Universal,
to
right.
think about it. Okay, number one, that's what we're gonna do. This is where it's gonna go.
Yep,
Okay?
wonderful.
Then there's no question, no doubt, this is a procedure.
Yep.
And then everybody knows why, at the final, it goes to the town clerk for filing.
Yep.
Yep.
And then somewhere in there, it gets the selectmen, and there's got to be the communication, like Sandy said, to the board, then back to the selectmen,
Yep.
and then back to the board.
Right, because they're coming in from all directions. They're coming in from top
That's right.
down and from
Yeah.
down up. And that's why we need to have someone account, because every year I do this. I've been doing this for the town report now. This will be my 8th year,
Yeah,
and it's difficult.
yep. And we have to make it better.
The only way I can do it, when I have a question, because some people's terms are like, oh, that's not right, is literally going to the town clerk's file and going back and pulling all the
Yeah.
original forms.
That reminds me, the one that got sent to me recently, what's his name? Rich Benson. He no longer lives in Tilton. He's gone.
Right, this is one of the ones we're replacing.
And of course, in Norm's
I
spot.
just said Karen and Richmond.
Yeah, see, this is what you'll get, so you'll always know
Yeah.
who
Yep.
they're replacing and what the term is.
Okay, well, I will contact, I'll send,
Well, if you write that procedure down,
yes, get it all written
Very
down, and then that way.
simply, that would
And you
be
can even put it on the
marvelous.
website with the form, so,
Well, let's get the procedure down and back to us.
yeah.
All right, but for right now, the
But I'll make
form
a
is good.
motion to accept this form for board, committee, and commission application that Joyce has presented to us
All right, so I'm going to say adopted,
as
16,
the adopted form
Right.
okay.
for use,
Right.
for application.
All right, and then I'll make sure
Make
that
that sound better, Catherine.
all departments know about this, and also, too, I know,
I'll second that. She made a motion to do what you,
okay, I'm waiting for the vote, I'm sure not.
So a motion has been made and seconded. Go ahead, Joe.
Could there be a place in here that says if they're looking to be an alternate or a full-time?
Right here is,
Yeah.
if there is no full member position available, would you be interested in serving as an alternate?
alternate, okay, there you go.
Yep.
All right, I get it. And then, okay, well, there's a motion on the floor.
You know
So
what?
we're in
Right,
discussion,
wait a minute.
so-
He's right. There is that question, but shouldn't there be something that
Maybe up where it says.
Okay, in the swearing page, I thought there was, it
Yeah.
says member, full or alternate, you can place. Maybe we just write it in or something, but there should be something, and when you look at it, this is a full member.
Something specific, because this Ms. Harvey, my impression is, as we were talking about this, is she's going to be a full-time person, right? Except for she applied for an alternate position, nowhere
Yeah,
here
she
to,
said to scratch that out.
yeah, but she didn't. Nobody did, and,
No,
all
I
Hasn't
forgot.
had it back, but she
So-
told us to scratch it out.
right.
But, and she can do it when she's, she'll find it out.
But as long as she's aware,
Yes. Well, I think
But
once,
that's,
I know Catherine talked to her, and I also talked to her and explained to her, it doesn't matter whether you're an alternate or a full member, you should attend every meeting.
yeah.
Because as an alternate, if you're not familiar and you're asked
In
to
all the
sit in
meetings,
on
well,
the
some.
case, you're not gonna know it.
A few.
well, I believe you made a motion back when that requires them to attend every meeting.
Okay, anybody else have questions on the motion and discussion, and we'll vote on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay,
All right, and then the other things I have are all for, one is legal, and two are personnel, quickies, and the other is, Pat, you were going to bring up, give them an update on the negotiations.
yeah, do we have the paper?
Yep.
Gave you the
Are we gonna
check.
do that now, or are we gonna wait
No, that's non-public.
for non-public later? Okay.
We're going to go into non-public.
Is Dickie's non-public?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
All right,
Yeah.
did I get these both back?
Remind me when we come out, we have to make a motion to accept the donation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion to go into non-public as per RSA 91A:3. It is going to be personnel and legal.
Second.
Did you say we're gonna go into non-public for legal?
Yes. She has an update.
A quick one.
Roll call.
No. Well, it's my conversation with Attorney Puffer, and there are decisions that you need to make based on that conversation.
With attorney-client.
Yep.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 And we're ready.
Well, we're gonna let that.
Make a motion that we seal the minutes of the non-public as they pertain to personnel permanently, as they pertain to negotiations until the matters are resolved.
What's going on here?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
we're gonna let that 10% go through even though he owes.
We're not letting it go through, it's a levy.
Yeah, we'd have to have them post a security.
Right.
Give this is confidential information, you want it back? Pat, you want these salaries figures back?
Yes.
No, I would say to him, because you owe on taxes, we are requiring you to post a bond to secure that you're going to pay the yield
Right.
tax.
Taxes.
Because we don't know otherwise.
Right. I have, in public, I need to make a motion to accept the donation from Auto Service Tilton for $1,200 specifically for the motorcycle lease contribution.
Second.
How much is the total of the motorcycle?
$1,625. The other portion of it's coming from Tanger.
That's good.
And that motorcycle is a Harley Davidson?
Me, I can-
Kyrock?
Sure is.
It's a what?
Kyrock?
It is a June 1st to October 31st, 2013. Yeah, it is a Harley.
All right, then okay.
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you, AutoServe.
Thank you,
Getting-
AutoServe.
And
Indeed.
Tanger's yet to,
Oh, no, we got that one, too.
you got Tanger's already?
Absolutely.
And I'd also like to thank the fire department. They, last
Came in,
night,
they gave us that one
Tim
back in the
Jober
summer.
brought over a blood pressure cup and gave it to the town, to the town office.
Oh, nice.
Also gave one to the
Senior center?
Senior center as well.
Is it going to be a training
And there's a
seminar?
training, and also he delivered the defibrillator that Brad had put in for a grant up there, but he wants to make sure that there's training first.
Is that the one that automatically goes on? I saw the demonstration, and it's amazing.
Yes. And we
That
got
should
one
be-
from a grant.
Oh, that's terrific.
And it was really phenomenal.
Anything
Yeah.
else? Can we do
We-
minutes next week?
I have something you
Selectmen
guys,
reports.
you guys should
Anything
know about
earth-shattering?
this.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
There is apparently 75 gallons of water approximately in the UST, the diesel side primarily of the underground storage tank. At the
How many?
75 gallons, the bulk of it being in the diesel side. There's two sides to the tank. You've got, well, just for those who don't, there's gasoline and there's diesel. Each one of these tanks has a hollow space around it. In case the tank cracks, it leaks into the hollow space. The dike, we'll call it. Now, there's on the top of the platform up there, there's a couple of manhole-looking grates. These manhole-looking grates have holes in them. Where you grab inside there and pull it out. Well, all of a sudden, we've got and mostly in the diesel side, we have all of this water in between the two tanks.
It's not in the tank.
It's not in the diesel fuel as far as we know. GAFTEC is coming up tomorrow, and they're going to pump it out and make sure we don't have an intrusion from outside the lining and that it's coming down through the top. But we have to do something about making sure it doesn't come down through the top. One of the problems is we don't have a canopy over it. But that's an approximately $80,000 expense.
Seal the manhole.
Pardon me?
Seal the manhole.
Well, there are certain rules that you have to have. In any case, GAFTEC is good. I just wanted you to know that this had come up, and that as soon as I hope to get a definitive answer this week, and then next week I could tell you, oh yeah, they plugged the hole, or whatever it is. But if you hear that we have a leak, it's not a fuel leak, it's a water intrusion.
Yeah.
But everything else I've got can wait.
The chief was supposed to report on his monthly report. Can we put that to next week, chief, on that? And also, the letter that, we have an email from a resident from Salisbury on an issue of parking that has been resolved with the chief prior to us coming to the meeting tonight, so that's why it's not being brought up. There is a special election at Winnisquam Middle School on Tuesday, January 21st. Which selectmen's and when are we going to be, who's going to be present, who's going to be attending?
I will.
I'll be there.
I can start in the morning if you want. I don't mind getting up in the morning.
I'm an early to rise kind of guy. If I show up at 9:30 or 10 and bring the coffee and donuts, okay, good enough.
Sounds good.
All right.
I can arrive after our executive board meeting in the afternoon and
Yeah.
finish off the evening,
That's
not a problem.
Okay, so that's the 21st, and I guess she wants us there about 7:30, or they open, about 7:30.
And I can fill in for somebody that needs to leave in the morning, late morning,
Yeah,
so I have a 2 o'clock meeting, and then I can,
Me too. I have a 2 o'clock meeting.
got shots at 8:30, but after that, I'll come over with the coffee.
that's fine.
and, is that all we need to know about the election? That who's attending, who's going to be there?
Dennis will be there at 6, right at 6 to set
Yeah.
up.
Okay.
You
You gonna
asking?
make a sign for up front?
I asked him to.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank me for reminding him.
all right. So, do you want to start at 4 next week, or do you want to start earlier?
Earlier.
We have, I think, a big agenda so far, Pat.
We have Cormier next week?
We have, no, she's in February.
Okay.
Tammy Davis and Mike Gagney are coming in at 4:30. The chief is coming in with his report.
Dennis
wants to come in and talk about the roads.
Yep.
Then at 7 o'clock, you want to have the public input on the pawnbrokers ordinance? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
So
we
that's
better
what we
back
have
up
so
a little
far.
bit.
So what time? I'm sorry, Cindy?
I said we better back it up a little bit, because
Yeah.
we wanted the input to be the last thing.
What if we brought Tammy in at 3?
3? Okay, I'll call her.
What do you think, board?
Sure.
And then Dennis right after them, and then we can, after public input, we can head out.
All right.
Okay.
Is everybody in favor of that?
Works for
I want to
me.
make sure, okay.
So it's not 2, it's not 4, it's 3.
Right.
Screwing me up here.
Al?
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
Second, third.
Yes.
Non-debatable.
Carry me to my rig.
Oh, there it is.
Right, that's public.